He goes, they did it. And I'm like, what are you talking about? And he was like, he's talking about Alabama beating Georgia. He's like, this is going to be chaos. How's the committee going to figure this out? But he says they did it. I'm thinking, what? Did the Heat win on a buzzer beater or something?
Yeah, good call.
City of Palms expanded to 32 teams.
Exactly. Yeah. What? That's a good call, Trent.
Yeah, I don't know, Martin. Maybe Georgia would have gotten in that way. They were out to screw Florida State.
Well, yeah, and you knew when it was 3-0 at halftime or whatever it was, it didn't matter at that point anymore, unfortunately. It should, but
if I was Florida State, I wouldn't play. And I understand the wrath that would come down. I would not play.
That's interesting.
I would have said, no, this is a joke, and we're not going to participate in it. Because if we participate in it, then we're making it seem okay.
Yeah, you're enabling it.
Yeah. So we're not playing.
Look at you, travel parent.
You're condoning it. Mark, did you golf this weekend?
I did not. I don't ever golf on the weekends.
Oh, okay.
Family time.
Gotcha.
Unless it's not true, unless there are tournaments. There's three tournaments a year I play on the weekends, but other than that, I take the weekends off. If you bet the under on all 13 of the Iowa games, you'd have been 11-2. It's a good stat, Martin.
That's insane. They just don't know where to put the line.
Love that they've got them playing Tennessee. Of the bowl matchups.
Right. Super fast, super slow. And Ambient wants to talk about the Broncos and the Texans. Good morning, Ambient. Yeah, Baby Jules, that's the first time they ever took that shot in Atlanta. They've never, in the old stadium, this stadium, they never took a boot shot in Atlanta before. I was very surprised when I looked up. I was like, what?
When did they do that? I must have missed that. I mean, literally.
Mid-second half. It might have been the beginning of the fourth quarter.
Might have been like, is that the quarters? Usually that's when I'm running around doing stuff. So I didn't even see it.
Yeah.
And I obviously watched the game pretty closely.
And needless to say, it was a little different booth, Auburn to Atlanta. One's an NFL booth, and one's a stamp.
Nice double negative behind. Do you mean should? Because shouldn't definitely skip bowl game is an interesting sentence in and of itself. I'm guessing you mean should.
Adam, I think they would have knocked him out even if Rodemaker had played.
Yeah, you need your glasses, David?
I left them in the booth in Atlanta. So they're being shipped to me. I'll get them tomorrow.
You don't have backups?
I left them in the booth in Atlanta. I bring both pairs with me in case one pair breaks.
This is your flu game.
I'll do tomorrow's show too. It won't get here until midday. I'm going to have to
buy
some. I think I'm going to buy a quick pair of readers so I could have it for the booth tonight. I was tired yesterday. I did not leave the house yesterday.
Here we go.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network. And now here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
Top of the morning to you on this first Monday in December. And for some of you, we know the answer to this question. How the heck are you? Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Well, Mark, you had a feeling.
I did. I didn't like the feeling.
No.
I didn't want to be right about the feeling.
No.
But David, as Friday went on and our show ended Friday, I felt stronger about the feeling. And then at the end of the first half, Saturday night, 9:30, 10 o'clock, I went, oh boy.
Well, it's funny you say that because I'm in the Atlanta airport in time for the second quarter, and I'm by myself, and I have enough time to I could have a meal, and I'm sitting in a restaurant by myself watching the second quarter, and I see the first half passing yards, and for the first time, and I said this out loud right as the waitress was coming over to take my order, I said, Mark's going to be right. It was the first time that I went, no, they could do this, can't they? Holy blank. Yeah, I'll take the lobster mac and cheese. Thank you. Okay. Yeah, that's exactly how the conversation with myself went. I'll be damned. Of all the things that he's been right about in 17 plus years, he's going to be right about this.
And David, it's the one thing I didn't want to be right about.
Whew.
I and many others are on Florida State's side of this argument, but you could see it coming. And even, Gary Danielson's going to join us in 35 minutes. The last thing I remember hearing him say in the broadcast before I didn't stay for the trophy presentation. I went to Michigan and Florida State pregames. The last thing I remember hearing Gary say was, well, Alabama, maybe I quoted him wrong, but Alabama needs to be in this playoff or should be in this playoff or something along the lines of Alabama should be in the playoff. And I went, yeah, they're not going to keep them out.
And they didn't. I am not kidding when I say this. I had three thoughts when it happened. I was watching it, and I never watch these dog and pony shows ever. And at 12:02, I went, "Oh, I got to put this on." And they dragged it out, and they did 1, 2, 3, and then they even did 6. And I watched it, and I saw it, and I blurted out an expletive. And then I said out loud, well, it is a TV show. And the third thing I said out loud is, yeah, if I'm Florida State, I don't go.
Now, that's fascinating. That's one thing I had not heard, not thought about. And, David, I have a real estate license. On Sunday, I was actually showing homes to a client during the afternoon. So I couldn't watch show, but I'm listening on the radio. And ESPN Radio National did a great job. They said, hey, we're just going to flip this over to the TV coverage. When it gets to the decision, we're flipping what we're doing to them. So I listened to the same show you watched. And, David, our reactions were similar. When they went 6, I went, oh, damn. That was the moment to me. When they went 1, 2, 3, 6, it's like, oh, this is Survivor.
Right.
Who are we voting off the island?
Right. It's 4-4. Who's the 9th vote?
And as I was driving around for the next hour or so with my client, I just was thinking of things and trying to talk to him, and he wasn't a big football fan, so it wasn't interesting him. And I thought about the Masters, believe it or not. The Masters is our favorite golf tournament, David. It's not the tournament with the best field.
No.
What is truly the name of the Masters?
It's
the Augusta Invitational.
Yes, it is.
And that's what this college football invitational is. We should no longer refer to it as a college football playoff because it is not a playoff. There are no exact qualifiers to getting into this playoff. It's an invitational. It's people in a room inviting 4 teams. This is the college football invitational. And it's a great event. And we're going to watch it and we're going to love it. And they may have gotten it right. They didn't do it the right way. By the point spreads, we have 2 closer games than we would have had if Florida State was in. I get that. But I'm not sure what the hell we play the regular season for.
You know, I thought Washington winning Friday night was a big help to Florida State for 2 reasons. First off, another undefeated. I thought that it would be easier for them to, we put the undefeateds in. Secondly, Washington was a 10-point dog, and they won outright. And so all the talk about Florida State and what kind of underdog they would have been in that national semifinal. And I'm thinking, well, Washington was just a 10-point dog, and they won. Okay, so maybe that will help the committee just go, hey, you never play the games. That's what this is about. Play the games. Do I think, by the way, if it was reverse, if Alabama had beat Texas and the resumes were the same, that they would have put Texas in ahead of Florida State? I do not. No. I think the fact that it was an SEC representative, and it is undeniable. I mean, the SEC's won 13 of the last 17 national championships, and they've been in the championship game 16 of the last 17 years.
And David, not just an SEC representative.
Right. Exactly.
The SEC representative. It was Ole Miss with this resume. They don't get in.
Well, no, hell, even with the name Texas, if the situation was reversed, where Bama had gone to Texas and won by 10, and their resumes were the same, Bama would have been the 3. I think Florida State would have been the 4. I really do. But I will say this. We all didn't like the committee before noon yesterday. The committee was in a really bad spot. Now, I would have voted Florida State in, and I would have voted Alabama out. And I would have been one of those that would have taken all the heat that came with it. Would it have been more heat, the same amount of heat, less heat than what they're getting for doing it this way? I don't know. I'll tell you what, it would have been louder heat. I mean, the SEC heat is louder than the Florida State heat. It is.
Because of what you bring with it. You bring every part of the 4-letter network that had made their commitment to Alabama and Texas before these games were ever played.
But if I'm Florida State, and this is part of my personality, it's held me back in life and certainly in my career. But if I'm Florida State, we're not playing. I would have said, blank you. All right, this is a joke. Even though they can justify it, I would have said, no, this is a joke. And we're not going to participate in it. We're sorry, because if we participate in it, we legitimize it. So we're not participating in it. And B, there's a part of me that's like, UCF went 13-0 and declared themselves national champion. Hell, why don't we do the same? It's going a little far, okay? But I actually had that thought. I'm like, hell, we're not going to play. And you know what? When we unveil the banner, it's not going to say 13-0 ACC champs. Hell, we'll just put up our own national championship. But I digress. But I'm serious about them not playing. And that would have, you talk about the heat that Florida State would have got. It would have cost the conference money, would have cost them money, the whole deal. But I'm serious. I would not participate. Now, I'd throw it out there to the players, and I'd say to them, take a vote. If you want to play, I love you guys, proud, coach you, the whole deal. But if I'm Norvell, I'd literally say, you guys want to continue, yes or no? And if you don't, we'll support you. We'll take the heat. Enjoy. Good luck in finals. Enjoy your Christmas. We'll be back at it in January.
The other thing that we've been telling you on this show for a while is that come March, maybe April, you're going to start hearing about a certain conference that's going to blow up. And if you didn't think the moment Florida State did not get into the Invitational that the ACC's days were numbered as we know it, then to me, you weren't looking at the big picture. Because that was the other thing that if you're not getting invited to the Invitational in the situation you're in now, then you have to change your situation. And Florida State's going to do everything that they can possibly do to dismantle the ACC between now and the end of March.
Well, it is a pretty good argument. Hell, we can go 13-0, win this conference, and beat 2 SEC teams along the way and still not make the playoff. Why do we want to stay here again? This could happen in the future, although technically they would get in the future as conference champs and all that. Mark, they couldn't avoid it. We've known this was a messed up system. This was year 10. This was going to be it. They're going to 12. We survived the BCS and the couple of mistakes that it made. They put Nebraska in 1 year when it shouldn't have, put Florida State in over Miami in 2000 when it shouldn't have. We survived the BCS. We were about ready to survive 4. And the last year, it was the perfect storm. And I mean the perfect storm. Sticking it to a 13-0 Power 5 conference champion. Holy blank.
And one with history. It's not like Florida State hasn't been there before. It's not like they're sticking it to UCF or sticking it to name the Minnesota. I mean, there are plenty of schools. Wake Forest. I mean, every damn school not named Clemson in the ACC. You'd go, or Miami. You'd go, okay.
Oh,
if it were North Carolina in this spot, you'd be like, well, it's not basketball.
Listen, we all think the committee's a joke, but I did feel sorry for them from Saturday night to noon yesterday. I'm like, man, they're keeping somebody really deserving home. They are. I would have kept Bama home. I think obviously it's got to be our poll question, right?
Oh, yeah.
Florida State or Alabama, who would you have voted for? Gary Danielson in 25 minutes here on Miller and Moulton.
Located on the East Trail, locally owned Naples Tiki Bar and Grill is an outdoor eatery next to the Hitching Post Shopping Center. Island-inspired food with a true tiki theme. The best place in Naples to enjoy the beautiful weather in Southwest Florida. The Naples Tiki Bar and Grill offers a great menu for dine-in or takeout. Enjoy our famous pulled pork, huge burgers, and tiki bar cocktails. Don't miss happy hour every day from 3 to 6 and live music 7 days a week. See you soon at the Naples Tiki Bar and Grill, 11498 Tamiami Trail East.
The law firm of Michael F. Hornung specializes in criminal defense, DUI, personal injury, nursing home claims, and auto accidents. I'm a former prosecutor with over 34 years of experience. The information I know is information you need to know. If you've been arrested for a DUI, time is of the essence to maintain your driving privileges. Call the law firm of Michael F. Hornung for a free consultation. At the law firm of Michael F. Hornung, we are committed to excellence in your representation. Being a local attorney with local knowledge is clutch to the success of your case. For over 30 years, we have successfully represented the citizens of Southwest Florida. For a free consultation, call 239-437-0095. That's 239-437-0095. Our offices are conveniently located in Fort Myers. Visit online at mfh-law.com.
Hello, friends and family of Southwest Florida. Are you looking to tap into the electric vehicle market? Well, look no further, because we here at Southwest Florida Golf Carts have just what you need. E-bikes, golf carts, LSVs, scooters, and more. Come down and talk with one of our experienced sales reps, have a soda and a smile, and you could be cruising the streets in your new EV today. Stop by the store or visit our website at flgolfcarts.com and enter for a chance to win $100 off your next purchase by answering John's monthly sports question.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Are we doing a starting 5 today?
He's not there. If we are, I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't know how we could. We've got guests at unless he's going to try to jam it in here, which he didn't say. So I doubt it.
Okay. Just don't want to be late to the gun. Late to the trigger. So, what is there a line out yet for Bama, Michigan,
Yes, I thought
or Texas, Washington, for that matter?
there should be.
One and a half, says Spitz. Assuming that's Michigan favored. I'll tell you what, I think if
Michigan's favored by 2, Texas is favored by 4.
okay. Hey David, are we doing a starting 5?
He still doesn't have his headsets on. My guess is no.
All right.
I can assure you that Gary's not.
Gary's not what?
DC's comment that he's saying what he's saying to avoid losing his job. Gary's never worried about. Gary
Oh my
says,
God, DC, you really haven't been paying attention then over the years.
and Herbie's been 4 best for 10 years.
Yeah. Now, Herbie has agendas, and Herbie will push agendas, not Gary. Gary said it. Gary said it.
I'm going to answer for that, Mongo. No, because Gary is Dr. Spock or Mr. Spock from Star Trek.
Yes, we all saw Vern. Vern got into town Thursday. And yeah, I saw he and Nancy. We were dining together. The pregame meal.
Vern loves him a pregame meal.
Yeah.
How's he doing?
Decent. He stopped drinking a few years ago. He looks, better. Nancy needs a knee replacement, so she had a cane. But Nancy looked good, until she got up to walk.
We're not doing a starting 5, right?
Well, could do it at 7 if you want. Or I could do it now.
Well, it's up to you.
If you want to do it now, I got it pulled up.
Okay, we'll do it now.
We'll do it live.
I don't know how funny that is.
Well, I mean, the Lions are 9-3. He's happy, joy over there.
No, he's not. He knows that defense is suspect.
I am a little shook, but I'll take 9-3. Don't get me wrong. I'm very happy about that.
Yeah.
They got some problems to address big time.
Yeah, you had a chance to have a really big piece in the middle of that defense. You decided, we need Gibbs, the running back, who's good.
Yeah.
Who's a
but
really
you had
nice
Swift.
But
yeah, but they knew they were getting rid of
it's
Swift.
a lot tougher to get one of those big dudes in the middle than it is to get a running back.
Guillermo, a little bit. I would be lying if I said no. He said, does Love have Trent nervous? Not nervous, but he's on my radar. How's that? Except I will say this. I throw up in my mouth when they are like putting up the side-by-side of Favre and then Rodgers and Jordan Love and how similar the footwork is and the release. Yeah. Give me a break.
I will say Love's the last 2-3 weeks has looked really
good. Looked great against Detroit. Looked good yesterday.
Yeah, he looks comfortable.
Real quick on the Jalen Carter thing, though, David, I think the reason right, wrong, or indifferent, I think the reason they didn't do it was because they didn't think he'd fit the culture.
I know. And let me tell you something. When you're a poor man's Warren Sapp, you change the effing culture.
I don't disagree. I wanted him to. I was fired up. I thought they were going to, but he fell.
Fit the culture. You don't think he fits the culture? Put on the highlight tape again.
Here we go.
Just watch it again.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton. exclusively on the Florida Sports Network.
21 minutes past the hour. Gary Danielson to join us a little more than 15 minutes time. So we're going to change things up. We're going to do something a little earlier than we normally do. Hope you had a great weekend, by the way, and thanks for starting your week off with us. Miller and Moulton, Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. But now it is time for
The Starting Five. 5 stories you need to know. It's the Starting Five on Miller and Moulton. Here's number 1.
Well, it takes a pretty big story to not have the NFL be the lead on a Sunday night, Monday morning, but college football did it, keeping 13-0 Florida State out of the national championship playoff. Needless to say, it's the first time that's ever happened, a Power 5 school unbeaten in the 4-team playoff era of 10 years. It's Michigan against Alabama in the Rose Bowl. Not going to be any interest in that game.
Oh, my goodness.
I'll make your prediction right now. If Washington beats Texas in the second semifinal, I think the Rose Bowl will outrate the national championship game. Michigan opens a 1.5-point favorite on Alabama. The 2-seed Washington has to travel 2,500 miles to New Orleans. It's a much shorter trip for the boys in Austin. Washington against Texas. Texas a 4.5-point favorite. Florida State's in the Orange Bowl against Georgia. I think they should boycott. Doesn't look as if they're going to. Miami is facing Rutgers in the Pinstripe Bowl. UCF's taking on Georgia Tech in the Gasparilla Bowl. And South
Ooh, they had it right there, David.
They did.
Right there.
And instead, South Florida's taking on Syracuse in the Boca Raton Bowl.
Ooh.
Boise State promoted their interim head coach, Spencer Danielson. He went 3-0, led them to the Mountain West Championship. He's got the job full-time. And Tulane's Willie Fritz is now Houston's Willie Fritz, replacing Dana Holgerson. NFL, this Tua to Tyreek thing's catching on. They hooked up twice, both of them not short. And the Dolphins are 9-3. And man, can they beat them, and the Cowboys can really beat up below 500 teams.
Well, and for the moment, they are your 1 seed in the AFC.
They are. They have a better conference record than Baltimore. Jacksonville plays tonight. If the Jags win, they will also be 9-3, and technically they will be the 1 seed. Dolphins the 2 seed. Dolphins and Ravens will play later this year. That could be a really big game. Achane with 2 touchdown runs back in the lineup. They held Washington to under 250 total yards of offense. That's the 7th time in the last 8 games they've held their opponent to under 300 yards offense. Everybody's talking about the one side of the ball, but the other side of the ball is doing its job. Tampa Bay did its job, albeit barely. This just in, Mike Evans, best player on the field. Thank goodness he played for the Bucs. Otherwise, they would have lost. They held off Carolina 21-18, but it was not a cover, even though the line dropped from 5 to 3.5 at kickoff. In the game of the weekend, San Francisco humiliated Philadelphia 42-19. Think of the 2 big showdown games for the Niners this year, what they've done to both the Eagles and the Cowboys.
And you wonder, I know they were banged up, but how is this team who beats the best that badly has lost that many games?
Brock Purdy, 4 touchdown passes. Jalen Hurts, banged up, had to leave the game in the 4th quarter. Philly's at Dallas next week. If Dallas wins, the Niners, by winning out, are the 1 seed. Niners with the best conference record in the NFC right now. Arizona, the surprise of the day, they beat Pittsburgh 24-10. Pickett injured, going to miss at least 2 weeks, could be out for the rest of the year. So it's Trubisky time for the 7-5 Steelers. Arizona hurting their draft position with the 24-10 win. Houston staying very much alive in the playoff chase. They stopped Denver's 5-game winning streak, 22-17. Texans 7-5, Broncos 6-6. Colts, Minshew mania in Indianapolis. They've won 4 in a row. They're 7-5. They beat Tennessee in overtime on 2 very nice passes from Minshew.
That game had a little bit of everything.
It did.
Had a block punt for a touchdown.
Another block punt that set him up inside the 10 for another touchdown.
A blocked extra point returned for a 2-point conversion, and then a mixed extra point
when the game was tied with 5.5 minutes to go.
It literally had everything. And Minshew.
Mania. The Colts are 7-5. Detroit's 9-3. Last time they were 9-3, the Kennedy administration. Hello. 1962. They jumped out to a 21-0 lead and held on against New Orleans, 33-28. Saints fall a game back of Atlanta. They're 5-7. Also, Carr hurt again. Don't know if he'll be able to play next week.
He was tattooed.
Yeah,
that was a vicious hit.
Yes, Atlanta Atlanta with 174 yards of offense, and they won. You know why? They were playing the Jets, 13-8. Falcons alone atop the South at 6-6. We can stop talking about Aaron Rodgers coming back to play for the Jets. There's no reason. Oh boy. The Rams beat Cleveland. I did have to laugh though, Mark. First time. Flacco hasn't played all year. He's 84 years old. First drive, 9 plays, takes him right down the field, touchdown. I'm laughing. Like all those teams that would anyway. Rams, though, Stafford 3 touchdowns. They've won 3 in a row. They're 6-6. They beat Cleveland 36-19. The Patriots, for the 3rd week in a row, held their opponent to 10 points or less. They've lost all 3 games. That hasn't been done since 1938. 85 years since the last time that happened. Patriots are 2-10. Chargers shut them out 6-0. And a surprise last night. The entire NBC broadcasting crew, all 10 of them, picked the Chiefs. Right then and there, you had to take out a mortgage and bet the Packers. 27-19 Green Bay. Jordan Love with 3 touchdown passes. And it's their 3rd straight win. Monday Night Football tonight. Jacksonville, an 8.5-point favorite over the Bengals, over under 39.5. So, yeah, do the math. Golf, Scotty Scheffler won the Hero World Challenge in the Bahamas by 3 at 20 under. Tiger finished 18th in the 20-man field. He finished 20 shots back, but he was thrilled because he said, it's the first time I played a 72-hole tournament in 3 years, pain-free. Okay. Now I guess we'll find out in the coming months if he can still play. But that's a good sign. NHL, Rangers over San Jose 6-5. And then, Mark, we had a bunch of games in which the losing team scored only once. Boston 3-1 over Columbus. LA 4-1 over Colorado. Minnesota 4-1 over Chicago. And Nashville 2-1 over Buffalo. Some college hoops. Southern ended the game against Mississippi State on a 12-0 run. They beat the 21st ranked Bulldogs 60-59. We have had some upsets in college hoops so far this year. How about UNC Wilmington beating Kentucky on Saturday? Ouch. FGCU fell to 2-7. I don't want to say they lost at Cincinnati, but 99-62 was the final. Stetson got thumped at Chicago State by 23. Women's side, Florida State a winner, Stetson a loser, and FGCU scored just 3 points in the 4th quarter and lost to Old Dominion. 55-42, ODU 7-0. And that was
the Starting 5 every weekday morning at this time on Miller and Moulton.
So there you go.
The invitational tournament has been set.
We call
CFI.
Is it the Indianapolis Invitational? Where is it based out of?
Oh, that's a great question.
The Bristol? How about the Bristol Invitational?
I like it. Miller and Moulton.
Gary Danielson next.
The law firm of Michael F. Hornung specializes in criminal defense, DUI, personal injury, nursing home claims, and auto accidents. I'm a former prosecutor with over 34 years of experience. The information I know is information you need to know. If you've been arrested for a DUI, time is of the essence to maintain your driving privileges. Call the law firm of Michael F. Hornung for a free consultation. At the law firm of Michael F. Hornung, we are committed to excellence in your representation. Being a local attorney with local knowledge is clutch to the success of your case. For over 30 years, we have successfully represented the citizens of Southwest Florida. For a free consultation, call 239-437-0095. That's 239-437-0095. Our offices are conveniently located in Fort Myers. Visit online at mfh-law.com.
Hello, friends and family of Southwest Florida. Are you looking to tap into the electric vehicle market? Well, look no further, because we here at Southwest Florida Golf Carts have just what you need. E-bikes, golf carts, LSVs, scooters, and more. Come down and talk with one of our experienced sales reps, have a soda and a smile, and you could be cruising the streets in your new EV today. Stop by the store or visit our website at flgolfcarts.com and enter for a chance to win $100 off your next purchase by answering John's monthly sports question.
Located on the East Trail, locally owned Naples Tiki Bar and Grill is an outdoor eatery next to the Hitching Post Shopping Center. Island-inspired food with a true tiki theme. The best place in Naples to enjoy the beautiful weather in Southwest Florida. The Naples Tiki Bar and Grill offers a great menu for dine-in or takeout. Enjoy our famous pulled pork, huge burgers, and tiki bar cocktails. Don't miss happy hour every day from 3 to 6 and live music 7 days a week. See you soon at the Naples Tiki Bar and Grill, 11498 Tamiami Trail East.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Yeah, only time all year I watched Game Day, and I saw Sankey's appearance on Game Day, in which, obviously he was making the case that the SEC certainly had to have a representative in the playoff. And he used the Sesame Street line, which of these things is not like the other? And it was arrogant. There's no doubt about it.
Who should have been the fourth team selected by the College Football Playoff Committee?
Yeah, Alabama or Florida State.
That's what I got.
You could put Georgia up there if you want to be polite.
Nope. I don't.
I have to admit I was shocked. So ESPN yesterday morning, I don't know if they did it at midnight Saturday, but yesterday morning they were on this thing, percentage chance to be selected to the college football playoff. And they gave Florida State a 97% chance. Texas 55, Alabama 42. And I remember looking at 97% going, that seems a little high. Even I thought last week before the games played out, it was 5%. I mean,
Had bananas this weekend right off the tree, David.
ooh.
Mom's got banana trees in her yard.
Okay, how were they?
They're delicious. They're smaller. They're about half the size of a banana, but they're delicious.
There used to be a house with pear trees. And when we ran cross country on our way back to the school, if we altered our route, we could run by their house. And I literally was the one that knocked on the front door and said, listen, we'd all love a pear. Are we allowed to grab your pears, or are you going to come out and shoot us? And she's like, how about once a week? Because there's 15 of us. She's like, if you can buy every day, And I said, so once a week? She's like, yeah, once a week. I'm like, okay. So we would choose which day of the week. Is this pear day?
DC, I get all your questions, but Gary's not on the playoff committee. And you're asking these like Gary's on the playoff committee.
Yeah. Listen, he was, for the record, DC, he was consistent about this all year. We had this conversation on the show a month ago. I mean, he challenged me on the show that I co-host, in which he said, "You're really going to keep the SEC out?" I went, "Yeah, in the perfect storm scenario, I would." And he said, "You're crazy." So, Georgia wins to Gary. Georgia wins, Florida State's in. But he was putting the SEC champion in. So, yeah, I know, Paul. It sounds crazy, doesn't it? Me running cross country. I took it up because you're not going to believe this, because I decided, I'm overweight. I got to lose weight. Lost 18 pounds. I was in great shape. I could run forever. Just not very fast.
I'm so happy right now. He's talking Lions with Gary for a brief second. You can just hear how excited. I just heard 9-3 with us, like just this beaming smile. But Gary loves the Lions too. Don't kid yourself.
Lions and Browns. Roots for them both passionately.
There's got to be a part of Trent's dad that's jealous that Trent gets to talk to Gary every week. So yeah, because that's your dad. Like me, that's our quarterback. That's
look at that. Nice one, Paul.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, only on the Florida Sports Network.
22 minutes before the hour. Joining us a little earlier than he normally does, and we appreciate him making time for us. He's Gary Danielson. He just did his 18th and final SEC championship game. He and CBS will move to the Big Ten next year. And once again, Gary, it was another SEC title game without consequences. Very little implications involved in the game.
Yeah, that's the case. And for the 18th straight year, the winner of the game made it into the playoffs. So a little touchy this year, I guess, right?
Oh, just a bit, Gary. I mean, I'm sure there was. And you said it at the end of the broadcast. That's, I said to David earlier, so that was the one thing that I took of the post game, and I didn't watch the whole trophy presentation. I'd moved on, but the last thing I remember you saying is that Alabama, and I don't know if you used deserved or should be, but that Alabama should be in the playoff or something along that line. And
right.
It's hard. For David and I, we'd have had Florida State. Why Alabama to you, Gary?
Okay. I'll throw an answer in, which is not the right way to do it. It's kind of in the form of a question. Had Georgia won, who would have been out?
Well,
Texas.
Yes. So Texas got in because Alabama won, right? That's the uniqueness in how crazy this was. Because Alabama kept improving and getting better all year, they were able to pull Texas into the playoffs, correct? Otherwise, they would have been out, right?
Correct. Yep.
Yeah, and that's really...
Well, actually, though, Gary, no. The committee, based on their words yesterday, because of Florida State's quarterback...
I don't think so, and I think it's going to get to the other half of it's a combination, and I think it was poorly explained by Boo Corrigan. It's not just, I thought him talking about the quarterback really led everybody down the wrong path and made more controversy. The committee should have said, we felt the champion of the SEC was deserving to be in the playoffs. And I've been like since 2011, I think it was, I warned that sooner or later with 4, there was going to become a time when the 5 power conferences all had a legit team that should be in, and someone was going to be embarrassed. The irony of this year is, had the commissioner of the ACC bought in, there would have been a 12-team playoff this year. He is the one who stopped it. So it happened. It just happened to happen this year. I don't, David and Mark, David's with me doing my games, but I don't allow our truck to put in stats that I don't feel are representative of the game that we're doing. Like, I don't care what the stats are against an inferior team, and it distorts, I think, the stats. That's not the case in, major in the NFL or, the NBA. You're playing against equal talent, but the charm and sometimes the problem with college football is not all games are equal. And that's the problem that we had with this committee and deciding who plays in the Final Four.
Did their choice surprise you? You were on record for weeks saying that the SEC champion would be in, but when they ultimately revealed who they revealed, did it surprise you?
I thought maybe the pressure within the room could have happened and there might have been some anti-SEC fatigue, but I personally believe that the way it was drawn up, and I don't agree with it. I don't agree with it. I always thought 4 was worse than 2 because there's going to be a team, and this year was not only was it the conferences, there also was a brand name team left out. So this was the perfect storm, and ironically, it happened the last year.
But the brand name got in. Gary, I don't know, if it was LSU instead of Alabama, if it was Ole Miss instead of Alabama.
I think they still would have been in, Mark. I really
do. You? Okay.
Yes, I do.
Well,
I really do. Now, maybe if it was Missouri, if you want to drop down a little bit, I would buy it. But I just have a hard time picturing the conference that has dominated. And, now remember, I know there's those early season games. I get that, and that's part of the charm of we want to watch good games in August. But should those games be the eliminator of a football team? That's the way I look at it.
What would you say if somebody goes, so it's better to lose a game than lose your quarterback?
I don't think that's exact. That's where I thought the committee made a mistake in the way they presented it. I thought they should have just said that we had a problem. There was something that we had the most unique of all problems, and no matter which way we turned, there was going to be somebody that was being treated unfairly. And we took all the dynamics in this, and we just simply felt that Alabama and Texas were a better football team and had a better resume, in our humble opinion. And we are obviously splitting hairs here. And one of the criteria is health of a football team. And at this point, we think that the best 4 are the 4 we chose. I don't think they should have dived in on the quarterback the way they did.
And you look back at Alabama and the good fortune that they had, obviously, at the end of the Auburn game, at the end of the first half of the Georgia game. I mean, for a team like Alabama, everything outside of Texas, everything went right after that. I mean, that's the irony of this, that this could have been so easily the other way, but somehow Alabama's found a way and found a way Saturday to get it done again.
Yeah, and that's the irony. The 4th and 31 got Texas in as well, too. So it is a crazy kind of a situation as you're in, and it had Georgia won, obviously. Texas, I've always hated 4. I just thought they were lucky for years and years and years to not have this happen. So it's imperfect. I think 12 will be a lot better. And remember, it was the alliance, but it was mostly the commissioner of the ACC that killed this. Had he joined in and made this thing happen this year, we would not have this controversy. So I don't know. There's no perfect thing here. I just think the whole making it all an eyeball, I don't see why. I've always been a league champion has to mean something. And I think that, now everybody was a league champion. So what are you going to do? I get it, what you guys are saying, that the games have to matter, but all the games have to matter, not just one game.
He's Gary Danielson of CBS. Obviously was on the call with Brad Nessler for the SEC championship game. Very quickly, what did Bama do that maybe surprised Georgia because they were the underdog going in? And then you saw Bama 6 times this year. You saw Michigan early in the year. Your thoughts just on the matchup?
You know, I get the whole thing about Alabama being fortunate the week before Georgia, you know, but Michigan was taken, they not struggled, but they had a good challenge against Maryland. I thought their schedule had games where teams just couldn't beat them. So I think this is going to be a great matchup. This would be the first time, though, that Michigan is going to face a dual threat quarterback that's like they're going to see in Jalen Milroe. I don't think they faced anything like they're going to see, and why defensive is having so much trouble with this guy. He's, I think, a more refined college passer than Jalen Hurts, maybe even a step faster, and he threw fits on the SEC when he was the offensive player of the year. So guys like Jaden Daniels, Jalen Milroe, they just throw fits on defenses because there's just so many different ways you can use them in the college game. So I think it's great matchups. I actually think, you know, the teams that were left out, you can make a case that those teams the next 4 are almost just as good as the 4 that are in it. And you can make an argument that the next 4 would be favored in 3 out of the 4 matchups if you took teams 5, 6, 7, and 8 versus 1, 2, 3, and 4.
There's no doubt. We talked about that last week as well, Gary. Hey, I'm curious what you think of, Alabama was able to, for the most part, stop Georgia running the football. Michigan wants to run it. They've got the great running backs. That you talked about the other side of the ball. Talk about Michigan on offense against Alabama's defense, Gary.
Well, I think it's going to be more the passing game, just like Ohio State was able to move the ball against Georgia in the air. I think when Alabama struggles to stop the run, it's because they have a dual threat, quarterback. And Alabama's always had success, and I thought they would have success stopping the Georgia running game because Carson Beck doesn't run. So I think that's the real challenge. Can Michigan throw the ball well enough to give the weapon that Alabama has to adjust to, and then they run the ball? I don't think they'll be able to do what they did to Penn State.
Gary, thanks for making time for us. We appreciate it.
And by the way, one more thing. I think both Texas and Washington could beat Alabama as well because of the way they throw the football.
Texas, a 4.5-point favorite right now over Washington. That game will be played in New Orleans at the Sugar Bowl. Gary, thanks. Appreciate it all year long.
Appreciate you guys.
Yep. Thank you, Gary.
Gary Danielson of CBS, on record on this show for over a month saying, I don't know how you have a playoff without the SEC champion. And he said it again after Alabama won. He said, I don't know what you do, but I'd put in the SEC champion. For what it's worth, if you believe anything that is said from Boo Corrigan and comes out of that room, the comments that I found interesting, Mark, was when he said, well, basically we took a vote Saturday night, and the vote Saturday night was Texas and Alabama, and it was convincingly. And then we went to bed, and we got up this morning, and I said, okay, let's talk about this. And we went around the room, and Corrigan said the coaches that were in the room were basically pounding the table for Bama.
Tougher to play against Bama than Florida State.
You and I would have put Florida State in. We would have left Alabama at home. But what I find interesting is, they seeded Texas third. And they afterwards said it came down to Florida State or Alabama. Okay, that I thought was interesting. Texas to them was in. They went to bed Saturday night. Texas was in. So if they had done the seeding, we are to believe if they had put Florida State in, they would have put them in as 4.
And you could see from the reaction in Ann Arbor how happy the Wolverines were to find out that they were playing Alabama and not Florida State.
I will say this, and to all the Michigan fans out there, you know what? this could turn out to be a huge blessing in disguise. Because if you beat Alabama and the winner of the other game, you know what? This isn't going to be a tainted championship. But if you had gotten a injured, wounded Florida State team in the semifinal and won that game, and then whoever you faced in the final, I'm telling you, this would have been the national championship for the rest of the country that had an asterisk next to it. They would have said, well, they cheated and they got to play Florida State, who didn't have a quarterback. I mean, could anything more have gone right for Michigan that year? Blah, blah, blah.
David, they don't even acknowledge that they share the 1997 national championship. So I tell you right now, it wouldn't matter to them.
No, to them. But I'm just saying it does, no matter what they say, it matters to them what the rest of the country thinks.
It does.
That's true. That's true.
It does.
Yes.
Because Michigan guy walks up to me all the time. In the state, they're not going to walk up to Sparty, but they walk up to me when they see me because they know what do you think? They are desperate to have this taken away from them, and beating Alabama would do that.
And think about it. Then Michigan's last 3 games, they'll go, we beat Ohio State, Alabama, and fill in the blank. And look right at them and go, we're really not the national champion? Okay, and everybody would have to go, no, man, you're the champ. Crazy year. We think you cheated. Okay, but you didn't cheat when you beat Ohio State, Alabama, and let's just say Texas. I mean, can we line up any more college football royalty to go through? I mean, is Notre Dame not available? No, they're in the Sun Bowl. We'll talk about that another time.
Did you catch, is it Drinkwitz, the Missouri coach? Did you see the clip of that?
No.
They're interviewing him about the bowl game that he's playing. He's got his phone. Hold on one second. I got a call from Connor Stallions. He's giving me some.
Those jokes are going to live forever.
Uh-huh.
Wow.
On the 4-letter network.
That's fantastic.
It really is.
That's some quality material right there. Okay. Listen, if he doesn't get the vote for SEC Coach of the Year now, I'll be really angry. Sorry, Florida State fan. It sucks. I feel awful for you. My son-in-law is a Florida State fan. He came over to pick his daughter up at our house yesterday, and he just had a look of mourning on his face. He didn't want to talk about it, he said. Miller and Moulton, thanks for listening.
Yeah. Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here.
Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're going to have to go around and get it.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
Visit Jason and Todd at the Diamond District.
When choosing something of high value and personal significance, such as a diamond, you want to shop with the best. And the mall is not the place to be. Here are my friends, Jason and Todd with the Diamond District.
Take a stroll in the mall, pop into a few jewelry stores, and you'll soon discover you're in the wrong place. Rings begin to look all alike. You're not finding GIA certified diamonds. You quickly realize you know more than a salesperson helping you, and all the same financing gets pushed on you.
Visit Jason and me, and you'll find America's top bridal designers dealing exclusively with the Diamond District. You'll find the largest selection of GIA certified diamonds, all priced 8 to 10% over cost. You'll find educated sales consultants who have many years' experience and are not paid commissions.
And you'll find Todd and me in the store nearly every day, wanting to shake your hand and welcome you to our Diamond District family.
Visit Jason and Todd at the Diamond District.
The law firm of Michael F. Hornung specializes in criminal defense, DUI, personal injury, nursing home claims, and auto accidents. I'm a former prosecutor with over 34 years of experience. The information I know is information you need to know. If you've been arrested for a DUI, time is of the essence to maintain your driving privileges. Call the law firm of Michael F. Hornung for a free consultation. At the law firm of Michael F. Hornung, we are committed to excellence in your representation. Being a local attorney with local knowledge is clutch to the success of your case. For over 30 years, we have successfully represented the citizens of Southwest Florida. For a free consultation, call 239-437-0095. That's 239-437-0095. Our offices are conveniently located in Fort Myers. Visit online at mfh-law.com.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network. I woke up insanely early yesterday again and finally watched the Hard Knocks. Oh.
Well, the injury?
Yeah. And I don't know if they redid the show to make it about Phillips, but the whole premise of that show was on the defense. You know, the whole show, they'd interviewed, Phillips and Chubb. And I mean, they kind of focused on because the first show was about the offense.
Right.
This show was all about the defense. And literally, they had some great sound where McDaniel walks up to Phillips before the game. He goes, everybody's going to know your name after this game. You're going to be a star. This is your breakout game. I mean, and he's having a game. It was just heartbreaking. Absolutely heartbreaking.
How about Mike McDaniel running off the field after the game? Did you see him? Like fins up, running.
The best is he ran off the field at halftime of the Jets game.
Yeah.
And he's running and they got the mic on him. Extra point.
Yeah. I'll tell you what. They are a likable team. They are a likable team. Dolphins are a little breath of fresh air. I know we love ourselves some Mahomes and
Mike Tomlin's not going anywhere, DC. Different organization. They're 7-5 with no quarterback.
Yeah, I don't think people liked his answer yesterday, though, about he was asked why were they in the shotgun on 4th and goal from the 1, and he basically dismissed the question. He said, different day and age, question's irrelevant. And people are like, really? Yeah, at home.
I understand, DC, but they're not firing Mike Tomlin. This is the Pittsburgh Steelers we're talking about, not the Tampa Bay Bucks. Look at their history. That's, to me, an irrelevant question. Like you comparing Bowles to Tomlin. Come on now. Give me the one successful thing Todd Bowles has done in the league. Just give me one as a head coach.
We live in a world where Mike Tomlin's job security is more safe than Bill Belichick's.
Now, if Tomlin wants to have the 4-year run that Bill's had here, then I don't think Mike Tomlin's job's safe either.
Correct. David, it's Bernard King's birthday today.
Oh.
And Marissa Tomei's.
Oh, my goodness.
It's Jay-Z's birthday,
Yep.
I think.
There was a brief time where one of those was sexier than the other. And if you talk to any New York sports fan, they would go, Marissa Tomei's hot, but not as hot as Bernard King in 1984.
That game against the Pistons, I hated him, but because he beat my team. That's one of the best. That series, he was so damn good.
He took the 84 Celtics to Game 7 by himself.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network. And now here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
It's hour 2 of Miller and Moulton on this first Monday of December. A rare home game for me because Monday Night Football is in Jacksonville. Jags with a chance to, for the time being, be the 1 seed in the AFC. How about that? And if they're not the 1 seed, you know who would be at this moment in time? The Dolphins. Strange times in the NFL, but not as strange as in college football, where you can be a Power 5 conference champion. Hell, you can be a 13-0 Power 5 conference champion. Hell, you can have pedigree. You could have won a national championship within the last 10 years and be kept out of the playoff, or as Mark likes to call it, the Bristol Invitational.
Got that right.
Florida State left home. Texas and Bama both get in at 12-1. They get Georgia in the Orange Bowl. I would boycott it if I was Florida State. I'm not kidding. By the way, it's $4 million. $6 million if you make the playoff. That's what the conference gets for the team that makes the semifinals. $4 million if you go to the other games. So if they were to boycott, which there's no indication that they will, but if for those that are calling for Florida State to basically say, you know what, screw you, I'm not participating in this, it would cost the ACC $4 million. And Florida State would privately say to the ACC, wait to see how much we're going to cost you in the next couple of years.
Couple of years, next 6 months, for crying out loud. All right, the text line is open at 21,000. If you've never texted the show before, FSN Radio, all one word. FSN Radio, all one word. This texter. I've had guys tell me that they still aren't baseball fans since the strike in the 90s. I feel like this will be my lifelong grudge against college football. And then this texter who sent so many texts, David, the one thing about this system we use to get our text messages is that there's a limit on the number of characters. When you go over that, it sends them as multiple text. So this one text turned into 11 separate texts.
Whoa!
And they jumble when I read them, but I just I think you can gather by 11 different texts coming in that he's angry.
He's upset, and I don't blame him.
He is very upset.
Listen, I'm not kidding. I am not playing around. If I was Mike Norvell, my first reaction would be, we're not going to participate in this. This is a joke. It's not that it's just a travesty. My reaction is, this is a joke, and I'm not going to justify it. I'm going to boycott it. I'm not participating in this. You have made a mockery of the sport as far as I'm concerned. I'm not going to. You want to make a mockery of it? I'll make a mockery of it. Put whoever the you want in the damn Orange Bowl. Ain't going to be us. We're out.
This texter. So if Mahomes gets hurt in week 17, the NFL keeps the Chiefs out of the playoffs?
Well, come on now.
Just
little different system now. They actually go by record and what have you.
David, this person agrees with you, says not only should they not go to the bowl game, but not even announce the boycott. Wait till the bowl notices you don't even arrive.
So you mean like 5 days beforehand when you're supposed to be there for practice and media and what have you? And it's just like, hey, where's Florida State?
This one disagrees, says why boycott it? They should try to beat Georgia and prove they deserved it, but they're going to get smoked and this conversation will be put to rest.
Well, what do you guys think the FSU players think? Do you think they want to play?
Players usually do. If I was Norvell, though, I'd put it to a vote of them. I really would.
Because I was just thinking, again, this might be the minority, but there's got to be some guys in that locker room that are like, come on, we're not just, it's not Jordan Travis's team. I mean, maybe it was, but
no,
we still deserve a chance.
There's no one in Tallahassee saying they're not going to play. This is David saying if he was head coach,
to him.
This is what he would do. There's nothing coming out of Tallahassee that's saying the Knowles aren't going to show up.
No, but if I'm Mike Norvell, my first reaction is we're not participating in this. This is a travesty. This is a joke. They're making a mockery of the sport. Like I said earlier, so it's okay to lose a game, but not your quarterback. No, we're not participating.
And to the texter who says they get smoked by Georgia, I don't know. That game's not going to matter because the players on both sides that will sit out now that the game is not a playoff game, largely makes these bowl games irrelevant to try to determine who's better than whom because we don't know who's going to play.
Now, I will say it'll be tough for Georgia and the SEC to dismiss the result of the Orange Bowl if Florida State were to win because of their situation at quarterback, even though, as Mark said, there could be 15 guys for Georgia who, for injuries and getting ready for the NFL, aren't going to participate in this game. But to be serious for a second, if I'm Norvell, that's how I would feel. I would bring in the leadership group on my team probably today. And I'd be like, okay, what are you guys thinking? And if they're like, we're mad as hell and we want to take it out on Georgia, it's like, okay. But if I'm this to me, they're making a mockery of the sport if I'm Mike Norvell. I mean, you could tell, by the way, first off, after the ACC title, when he was asked, he said, this isn't even an issue. We're 13-0. And they had the shot, the reaction shot of Florida State, and you could tell Mike Norvell was stunned. Coaches don't react that way. They don't. Next man up, next play, the whole deal. Oh, no. Mike Norvell was stunned.
I will say, and I don't have it in front of me, but the AD certainly wasn't, because the AD, the announcement from the FSU AD going scorched earth about the committee came out 4 minutes after they decided they weren't in. That was already written.
Well, you don't think he got tipped off by the representative in the room?
Because they already had their response filed by the time this thing had come out.
But it's our poll question. We're not good at poll questions. But this one's kind of easy. So you're the committee. Who would you have picked? Florida State or Alabama?
I'm stunned by the early voting. 72% of you saying Florida State. I actually think this vote at the end will be a lot closer than that. And I know we've got a lot of Knowles that listen. We're in Florida. I get it. We also have a lot of Gators that listen.
Listen, I think what happened yesterday was so shocking. I think there are Gator fans that actually feel badly for Florida State. No, I didn't say a lot of them. But I mean, like we had a couple of early reactions in the Twitch chat room who were like, us knocking Rodemaker out of the game actually helped keep Florida State out of the playoff. I'm kind of happy about that. I get it. It's a nasty rivalry. It's not one based on respect. It's not Florida State, Miami. There's actually respect between those two fan bases and programs. Florida State, Florida is nasty. I get it. But I even think some Florida fans went, holy blank. Are you serious? And fortunately for everyone else not named Florida State, it's never going to happen to you going forward because of what the new format's going to be. I do think, irony. How ironic is this? We would have had the 12-team playoff this year, as Gary Danielson pointed out. But who voted against it? The ACC commissioner. So we had to have 4 for another year. And guess who it penalizes? Yikes.
Liberty. Oh, sorry.
Hey, don't laugh. That's another one. This is where, once again, the committee gets themselves in trouble and why they don't have any credibility. So it came down to Liberty or SMU for the last New Year's Six bowl spot, the non-Power 5 conference champion. And they gave it to Liberty. And yes, Liberty's, 13-0?
Yes.
And SMU was 11-2. There are 133 teams that play Division I-A college football. Mark, what was Liberty's strength of schedule?
Oh, 130.
3. It was dead last. They played the easiest schedule in the country. Literally the easiest schedule in the country. So, once again, should we play challenging games? No. Schedule the best, easiest schedule wins, and we'll reward you at the end. SMU went 11-2. They played some teams. If they had played Liberty's schedule, they certainly would have gone 13-0. But they chose Liberty because they got the donut, when most everyone thinks SMU is a better team. So, once again, the committee just credibility.
There's no rhyme or reason to what they do, and that's what we've been pointing out for quite a while.
So that's the other thing. The ACC got screwed twice. Not only for a school that's currently in the ACC, hell, they couldn't even get SMU, who's about to be in the ACC in the New Year's Six. Tough day for the ACC.
21,000 is the text line. A lot of you chiming in today, either upset or think it's the right choice. You know, someone says, I understand the complaining, and they didn't use complaining, but I'll switch it there, of being left out. But are they really one of the 4 best teams in the country with their quarterback situation?
You know what? I don't understand. Answer me this. To me, the 4 teams that get to continue to play for the championship, to me, aren't we judging them based on what they've done? Not what they're going to do. You know, the committee made this mistake back in 2016. Penn State won the Big Ten. They beat Ohio State. Ohio State only had 1 loss. Penn State had 2. They chose Ohio State to go to the playoff, and they said, we just think they're a better team. Ohio State got beat by 24 points by Clemson. They got shut out in the semis because the committee went with what they thought, not with what took place on the field. The games have to count. Then why are we playing them?
We'll go to Tallahassee in 25 minutes. Jeff Cameron will join us. If you think the angst in David Moulton's voice was such, oh boy, wait until we talk to Jeff Cameron coming up in 25 minutes. Chris Landry, JP Shadrick, also joining us in the 8 o'clock hour right here on Miller and Moulton.
The law firm of Michael F. Hornung specializes in criminal defense, DUI, personal injury, nursing home claims, and auto accidents. I'm a former prosecutor with over 34 years of experience. The information I know is information you need to know. If you've been arrested for a DUI, time is of the essence to maintain your driving privileges. Call the law firm of Michael F. Hornung for a free consultation. At the law firm of Michael F. Hornung, we are committed to excellence in your representation. Being a local attorney with local knowledge is clutch to the success of your case. For over 30 years, we have successfully represented the citizens of Southwest Florida. For a free consultation, call 239-437-0095. That's 239-437-0095. Our offices are conveniently located in Fort Myers. Visit online at mfh-law.com.
Visit Jason and Todd at the Diamond District.
20 years ago, Jason and I had the idea for a jewelry store like no other, with a vast selection of certified diamonds priced 8 to 12% over cost. A team of individuals who are educated, driven, and believe in cultivating relationships.
Today, we have become one of the largest independent jewelry stores in the country. Todd and I love what we do and are in the store nearly every day, along with our GIA gemologists, master jewelers, custom designers, and non-commissioned diamond consultants, all of which we consider family.
As direct diamond importers, we travel the world, forging relationships and sourcing diamonds. What we love most about our business is that we can call Southwest Florida our home.
If selection, value, and comfort are important to you, give the Diamond District an opportunity. You won't find a better diamond buying experience. Todd and I look forward to shaking your hand and welcoming you to our Diamond District family.
At the Diamond District.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Yeah, I don't think so. Okay, music. If we go back to when Ohio State got in 2014, remember what did they do with Cardell Jones in the Big Ten title game? They beat Wisconsin 59-0. And that's when the committee went, well, hell, if they can play like that with him, let's put him in. I do think if Rodemaker had played and thrown for 302 scores and they had whooped Louisville instead of 16-6, if it was 31-6.
Yes.
Yeah, I do think they would have gotten in. Now, don't get me wrong. Did the committee want to leave the SEC out? Obviously not. But I actually think if Rodemaker had played and had done really well, I actually think they put Florida State 3. And then they would have changed the narrative and said it came down to Texas versus Alabama and we couldn't get over the head-to-head.
Yeah, I mean, I told Mark this morning, like, you knew when it was 3-0 at halftime.
I was the very first time that I considered that Mark was going to be right. No, I'm serious. I'm sitting there at halftime. I go, listen, especially since, I had just been witness to a heavyweight fight.
Yeah.
And I'm watching the ACC championship game and I'm like, oof. Even though Florida State's defense was, Florida State faced 9-man boxes the whole game, still ran the ball for nearly 200 yards, which is difficult to do. At 7 sacks, held them to 6 points. I mean, their defensive effort was championship worthy. But the game was ugly. And as I'm watching it, I'm like, oh, boy, this. So then they get to halftime, and I'm thinking, well, maybe, he'll take a deep breath. He'll make a couple throws. They'll score some points. Okay. And then when it's not really happening, I'm like, this is going to get interesting.
Oh, wow. Apparently, DirecTV had a dispute with whoever Tenga is, which owns several NBC and CBS affiliates, which left many fans unable to watch Week 13 or the SEC championship game.
Where was this?
Don't know.
Fireable offense.
Okay.
Still fighting with the Athletic because I resubscribed and they don't know where my money is, and I don't want to give them more money right now. So
I don't blame you.
I don't know if I can look at this.
So apparently Saturday late afternoon, early evening in Jacksonville, the weather was horrendous, like tornado warnings. Bad. And so my wife and her 83-year-old mother, and we're in a 3rd floor condo. When they're talking tornadoes, up is not good. They want you down. So my wife's going from one channel to the next. Weather Channel, which usually has block programming. They don't do the weather on Saturday nights. They basically take the night off. They interrupted their block programming to focus in on Jacksonville, and they're live and the whole deal. Okay, every channel in Jacksonville broke into their coverage. The news anchors are in. People out in the field live. CBS, they're running a crawl. Going, yeah, weather's bad. You might want to be careful. But they are not taking Georgia, Alabama off the TV.
Damn right.
No way.
Well, do you remember when, was it Rife? Went off? No, it wasn't. No. It wasn't Reef. It was the former CBS guy, Farrell.
Oh, yeah, Jim Farrell. That's
went
right.
Off on
what
NBC.
Game was it?
It was but it was Fox. A game on another network on Fox.
Right. Yes.
And it was his team, and he was honked.
In the Fort Myers market, and they interrupted it, and they start doing weather coverage. And the meteorologist says,
he's like, what are you doing?
It's fine. Get back to the game. God, that was great. Jim Farrell's stock in our eyes went up 1,000.
Way up.
God, that was great. Good recall, Mark. That was awesome.
Okay, here we go.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network.
21 minutes after the hour. Miller and Moulton, Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. We'll head to Tallahassee. Jeff Cameron try to wet his finger, put it up in the air, find out we know what the mood is, but just also get his breakdown and what they're saying in Tallahassee about Florida State being the odd team out, getting the shaft in the Bristol Invitational. Soon it'll become the Bristol and Hollywood Invitational because Fox will get involved. There is some developing breaking news in college football, though. Ryan Day was asked recently, hey, Kyle McCord going forward, he's heading into next year. He your starting quarterback? And Ryan Day didn't say yes. And give Kyle McCord credit, he can take a hint because he's in the transfer portal.
Is Ryan Day going to be the coach?
Oh, stop it.
Story of
The same people that are asking if Mike Tomlin's going to be the coach of the Steelers. Okay.
Calm
on
down. Listen to Aaron. Relax. Now, he loses to Michigan again next year.
That's a different story.
All bets are off.
3 in a row is bad, though.
3 in a row is bad.
That's bad.
But it's not going to be fireable. 4 in a row with everybody's Michigan's graduating.
Right. And Sharon Moore as head coach. Yeah, that'll be unforgivable. Yes. He loses next year. Yeah. At home, when he's got the better team, yes. Then we got to, sorry, sir. Here's the door. Mm-hmm. But so anyway, Kyle McCord's available. I don't know if anybody thinks he's any good or anything, but, he's lost 1 game in his college career, so obviously he sucks. And, just go forward from there. Hey, do you know the Dolphins are 9-3? And technically right now they're the 1 seed in the AFC. Do you know the Lions are 9-3? And the last time they were 9-3, John F. Kennedy was president? I mean, the NFL, the Packers beat the Chiefs, who right now are the 4 seed in the AFC. I got to admit, I'm excited about that, Mark. I want to see Patrick Mahomes and the boys go on the road.
Now I don't know about a highly likely, but there is a pretty damn good chance that this will happen.
Now, I will say they've got Buffalo, I think, next. If they get by the Bills, that schedule's very doable.
Absolutely, but they just lost to the Packers.
I know that. And like we pointed out, they didn't upgrade that wide receiving core. Points for the Chiefs are tough to come by. They have not won a game this year if they've given up more than 20 points. Not won a single game if that defense gives up more than 20. Does that sound like the Chiefs of the last 5 years?
But you are right. They've got the Bills, as you mentioned. Then it's at New England, who cannot score.
Listen.
What was that stat you gave out earlier? Say that again for all the Patriot fans, if they're listening, if there are any of them out there still.
How bad is it in Foxborough? Well, let me tell you how bad it is, Mark. The Patriots have given up 10 or less points in 3 consecutive games and lost all 3. And the last time that happened, FDR was president. It was 1938. Yes, that's right. We're going JFK and FDR today. Thank you very much.
You guys see the graphic of, I think they were promoting Patriots Chiefs coming up in prime time.
Yes.
And it was Bill Belichick and Patrick Mahomes.
Because there's not a player on that roster that you can promote.
Oh, I know. I just think it's hilarious. And they also flexed that game out of prime time.
Yes.
No one
Oh,
wants
yes.
to watch that.
Yes, we did. That's how bad the Patriots are.
You have the defending champs. Nope, we can't.
We flexed out of Patrick Mahomes and a potential Taylor Swift sighting. That's how bad the Patriots are.
Currently picking second.
Second. Golly.
And then after the Patriots, it's home for the Raiders, home for the Bengals. That would have been a good game with the Joe Burrow, but it's not. And then they're at the Chargers.
See, so you could see if the Chiefs get by Buffalo, they could go 13-4. They could post it, and that might be good enough. Miami's got 3 very challenging games to end the season: Dallas, Baltimore, and Buffalo. Baltimore's got another game with the Steelers. They obviously have the Dolphins. All right. They've got some challenging games ahead. And can Jacksonville really run the table? Because remember, the Chiefs beat the Jags, so they own the tiebreaker over them. And they beat the Dolphins, so they own the tiebreaker over them. So, the Chiefs actually are a really good tiebreaker situation. But for today, they're the 4 seed in the AFC.
But the Jags, and look can the Jags run the table? They've got one with the Ravens at home. Everything else really doable on their schedule. Really doable. Could Ravens at Jags be for the 1 seed?
Well, and then the Ravens have the Dolphins.
Right.
I just, Patrick, most people don't realize Mahomes and the Chiefs have never played a road playoff game. They've hosted 5 straight AFC championship games.
They played the Super Bowl in Tampa.
Yeah, in front of 18,000.
I'm sorry, I just had to throw that in there.
Yeah. Now listen, plus the Super Bowl crowd's but also it was, 1/4 capacity. So anyway. And this is all child's play because Florida State got left out of the playoff at 13-0. The NFL's like, wow, we're taking a back. That's how big that news is. We're taking a back seat today in certain parts of the country. I'll be damned.
In quite a few parts of the country.
Yeah.
Because you don't think they're talking about this in the Midwest and Michigan, going, we've got Alabama now instead of Florida State.
Right.
I mean,
son of right.
We're supposed to be playing Florida State.
Come on, guys.
They're the victim.
Oh,
of course.
Yeah. Listen, it's the best break Michigan could get because now, in theory, it's Ohio State, Alabama, and let's just call it Texas. You beat those 3 teams, nobody will bring up the cheating scandal ever again. They'll just go, they were the champs. They earned it.
Oh, no. People will still bring it up.
Well, that's, within
a lot of Buckeye fans.
Yeah, well, they just, hey.
I'll bring it up. I'm bringing it up forever.
Time now for the play of the day. I don't think it's coming from the Big Ten championship game. What do you have for us, Trent?
It is most definitely not. Too many good football games to choose from, but we'll go to the game that held the most weight, most implications across the board this weekend, including the NFL. It's the SEC championship game. Less than a minute in the first half. Bama's looking to extend its lead on Georgia, and Jalen Milroe found the ex-Bulldog, Jermaine Burton.
Under a minute. Milroe scans the field to the end zone, and it's caught. Jermaine Burton, touchdown, Alabama. The gamble pays off. First to Bond, then to Burton, and Alabama stretches their lead.
The gamble pays off for Nick Saban. Stop me when you've heard that before. Tide take a 17-7 halftime lead, ride it to a 27-24 victory to de facto clinch a spot in the Bristol Invitational. And the 2-time defending champs will have no chance to make it 3 in a row. Bama covers plus 5.5. They went outright, obviously. And the over-under was 52.5. Vegas was pretty close on that. It goes under at 51. And there is your play of the day from the favorite television show in America, David.
The total purse for the Bristol Invitational was $24 million. Each team gets $6 million for being invited to the tournament.
If you're a consolationist to the Bristol Invitational, you get $4 million for
Right.
your 6 bowl game.
Right. You're playing on the LIV tour, okay? Where
You
people
can wear shorts. Oh, sorry.
Yes. And it's a shotgun start in some cases. Yes. Miller and Moulton. Well, sometimes we're just trying to be funny, and sometimes we're funny while being serious. We have said for a long time now, it is a TV show. I know we treat it as sport. We take it seriously, but at the end, it's a TV show. And Florida State was canceled. Jeff Cameron will join us from Tallahassee next on Miller and Moulton.
The law firm of Michael F. Hornung specializes in criminal defense, DUI, personal injury, nursing home claims, and auto accidents. I'm a former prosecutor with over 34 years of experience. The information I know is information you need to know. If you've been arrested for a DUI, time is of the essence to maintain your driving privileges. Call the law firm of Michael F. Hornung for a free consultation. At the law firm of Michael F. Hornung, we are committed to excellence in your representation. Being a local attorney with local knowledge is clutch to the success of your case. For over 30 years, we have successfully represented the citizens of Southwest Florida. For a free consultation, call 239-437-0095. That's 239-437-0095. Our offices are conveniently located in Fort Myers. Visit online at mfh-law.com.
Hello, friends and family of Southwest Florida. Are you looking to tap into the electric vehicle market? Well, look no further, because we here at Southwest Florida Golf Carts have just what you need. E-bikes, golf carts, LSVs, scooters, and more. Come down and talk with one of our experienced sales reps, have a soda and a smile, and you could be cruising the streets in your new EV today. Stop by the store or visit our website at flgolfcarts.com and enter for a chance to win $100 off your next purchase by answering John's monthly sports question.
Located on the East Trail, locally owned Naples Tiki Bar and Grill is an outdoor eatery next to the Hitching Post Shopping Center. Island-inspired food with a true tiki theme. The best place in Naples to enjoy the beautiful weather in Southwest Florida. The Naples Tiki Bar and Grill offers a great menu for dine-in or takeout. Enjoy our famous pulled pork, huge burgers, and tiki bar cocktails. Don't miss happy hour every day from 3 to 6 and live music 7 days a week. See you soon at the Naples Tiki Bar and Grill, 11498 Tamiami Trail East.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Yeah, I think, who was it who asked? Canada Relief? Even with the Georgia injuries on offense,
Yeah, I don't think there's. I don't see one on that site. Let me see if I can bet it for real.
I don't think being snubbed. I don't think it plays a factor in recruiting RCB, because next year's system is not this year's system. So it's not like teams could say, well, don't go there. Look, you win the conference, go 13-0 over there. You're not even in the playoff. And that's not going to be the case going forward.
Big second half for Liberty to cover. Just want to let everybody know I was riveted.
Oh, the big fourth quarter was tied going to the fourth.
No.
They had a 2-score cover.
Yeah, Mark, you were fired up when you texted us that.
Oh, yeah.
No, I'm for a Friday night win.
I'm losing the other game. I've got, I'm waiting for Oregon to do something.
It's kind of funny how the Pac-12 championship really meant nothing as far as that was the least of everyone's worries. It's just whoever wins is in. And then you could debate about the placement.
Well, not a lot of collars on Frank these days because he had surgery a while back, and Frank is now a lifetime conehead, if you will. He has to wear a thing so he doesn't lick where he's had surgery.
What kind of dog is Frank?
He's a mutt, but he's a Catahoula Hound, Vizsla.
Okay.
We think Catahoula Hound, Vizsla, and German short-haired pointer are the three most likely. A solid oak tree. Where have you been? How you doing?
Oh my goodness. How the heck are you?
How are things in Lake City?
Well, I'm glad it wasn't just the Steelers, Bray. That would really hurt. I mean, at least you can go, well, Chiefs lost too.
Yeah, I was gonna say I'd be PO'd with the Chiefs.
13-game parlay. I love people doing 13-game parlays.
So do they love you doing 13-game parlay.
Whenever you hear about a 13-game parlay, it almost hit, right?
Always.
It almost hit.
But man, if you're 12-0 going into the Sunday night game and you lose that would really bother me.
Well,
I do, when I do
cash out.
When I do today was the day when, yeah, you got to call Cameron. I had to do a lot of double checking to make sure these were all alive. When I see Alex Delvecchio's 92, I'm like, let's double check.
There you go.
Wink Martindale, the game show host, is 89. Another one, had to double check.
His hair is 34.
And then I had to check Lee Smith because for whatever reason I thought I'd seen, just that was one that I wasn't
reliever?
sure. Yeah. Don't ask me why, but
Lee Smith is still walking to the mound.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton, only on the Florida Sports Network.
"22 minutes before the hour. Chris Landry will join us at the top of the hour. And JP Shadrick will join us 1 hour from now. He does Jags pre and post. Jacksonville, for the first time in 12 years, hosting Monday Night Football. I can tell you they're a little fired up about it in Duval. They're fired up for a very different reason in Tallahassee. Jeff Cameron is the sports voice in Tallahassee. You can follow Jeff on Twix, Twitter/X, at the letter J Cameron Show, J Cameron Show. Jeff, thanks for making time for us, number one. Number two, heading into noon yesterday, were you like Mike Norvell? Did you even consider the possibility that what happened could happen?
I considered the possibility that could happen, but I didn't think it would happen. I'll tell you, the first time that I thought it's going to happen was when I saw Texas at 3. That's when I realized they're going to do it. They're going to screw them. And they did. So it's, I think that was forget my voice here, but I think that's the moment that I realized it was going to happen. I guess I considered it was a possibility. I just didn't think it would happen.
Never a point during the game, 3-0 at halftime. I know they ended up winning by 2 scores, but no concern during the game at all that this could happen. It didn't hit you really until you saw Texas at 3.
Yeah, because I think I just assumed that a committee watching that game would understand that isn't the kid that's going to be starting at quarterback if Florida State makes the playoff. I also considered that the committee understood there's 2 sides to the football field, and that there was 7 sacks and 14 tackles for loss in what was the most dominant defensive performance by any team in college football this year. I don't know. I figured there was a bigger picture at play there.
Jeff, your thoughts about all this? I mean, yeah, Tallahassee's your home and you cover Florida State, but you're a sports fan. You're younger than us, okay, or you're more like Mark's age. I'm the old guy of the trio here, but this is what you've dedicated your life to. College football, I think, is your number one sport. Just your thoughts.
Well, yeah, I was disappointed. I honestly, guys, you're right. And none of us are completely objective. We're all from somewhere. We all went to school somewhere. We all have leanings, friends that went places, all of that. But I think we try because we look at the bigger picture. And I have a love of the game. You're exactly right, David. I love college football. I've been passionate about college football for a very, very long time. And it's always been a flawed system. We've never really gotten it right. Almost by definition, you have a difficult time doing that with as many teams play from as many different conferences. So there was always going to be room for the debate and subjectivity. But I think there was a little something more nefarious going on here, and that makes it tough to stomach because you feel like the integrity of the game was compromised, and you never want to think that the thing you're passionate about or believe in or love is compromised to that degree. And so I think that was frustrating. I feel terrible for the players. I feel terrible for the coaches that put together this season and really around every turn found a way, despite being riddled with injury, to win football games. And ultimately, I think the games have to matter. You know, you hear about the committee. Do I think there are better teams than Florida State? Maybe 4 or 5 or 6 better teams than Florida State? Possibly. But at the same time, I've always thought the games had to matter. And so when you tell me that, well, not really, a group in Texas is going to decide that they think future games would look better if this team were in because, you know, you've had some injuries. Well, yeah, man, lots of teams do. But it is an ultimate team game. And do you find ways to overcome all that and win the games? And Florida State won every one of them. In a year, by the way, in which this isn't the almighty SEC that we're accustomed to seeing. The ACC had a winning record against the SEC. We've seen lots of games throughout the course of this year that suggested the conference was down. I mean, that Alabama team has the best win of the year by beating Georgia, and kudos to them. But every time you hear people talk about how ugly the Florida State wins look, I go, were we not watching last week? Alabama needs a miracle to beat a god-awful Auburn team on 4th and 31, a same Auburn team who got boat raced by New Mexico State the week before. Are we not looking at Michigan throw for 8 more total yards over their last 2 games than Florida State did in the last 2 games? I mean, you can't tell me in the beauty contest they just pick and choose the narrative that fits the argument in the moment, but we can do this all day. That's why you have to come back to the wins.
It's why it's not a playoff, Jeff. It's an invitational. I mean, at the end of the day, this is it's the college football invitational. I made the comparison to Augusta. Augusta's not the golf tournament with the best field in it, but it's the one we all watch. It's the one that's most important. The U.S. Open's got a better field. It's a much more fair way of determining who gets into a tournament, but that's not the way it works, and that's not the way it works with this. With all that being said, should Florida State have gone on the offensive a little earlier? Because this was starting to be a talking point at least 10 days ago, Jeff. Should Florida State have gone on the offensive from the PR narrative? Would that have helped in your estimation at all?
Well, Jim Phillips should have. The commissioner of the ACC should have. I mean, if ESPN's going to roll out Greg Sankey on game day to stump and make a campaign, you obviously realize in that moment that he's scared to death because he saw a scenario by which no SEC team was going to get in and decided to do anything he could to ensure that that wouldn't happen. And that's fine. He works for the SEC. He should do that. But where's Jim Phillips in all of this? Well, he's weak. He's weak and he's soft. He's been bamboozled and hoodwinked several times. Look, think back to the stupid-ass alliance that he signed with the Big Ten, who was just buying time so that he could pull the ultimate coup. And then he got used there and he got embarrassed. And then now you have this situation where Jim Phillips is nowhere to be found. He had some talking points to Testator before the broadcast. You got to be kidding me. That whole thing is embarrassing. What this does is it solidifies what Florida State has to do. And if they didn't understand that before, they certainly do now. I think they did, but good Lord, come hell or high water, they got to get out of the ACC.
Should they play the Orange Bowl?
They have to, David. I hear your point. You could make the protest and you could say, we're not going to play. This is a sham, etc.
Yes.
Mike Norvell's mantra has been to his team all year long, including what we've seen in these last few weeks where they've been beat up and lost their starting quarterback, lost their backup quarterback, didn't have their starting left tackle, didn't have their starting right tackle. It's finish. It's finish. Over and over again, he says, finish the play, finish the quarter, finish the game, finish the practice. You have to finish. Now you're going to walk in and say, we're not playing. I don't think he can do that. Look, nobody from Florida State's going down to that Orange Bowl. Half of the two teams will opt out of these games. None of the Georgia fans care about that game. This is an awful Orange Bowl. I'm not going to cry for the Orange Bowl committee because we know what bowl reps do. A whole lot of nothing and get paid a lot to do it. But that said, I mean, that's got to be a tough break for that group, huh? Nobody's going to that game.
It's my goal in life, Jeff, to get one of those jackets. I don't care what bowl it is. I just want to be on a bowl. I want to be on a bowl committee. I want to wear an awful jacket in a press conference for one game.
You and me both, brother. I figured that out 25 years ago when I started covering college football. I was like, look at these guys. It's the best gig in the world. From what I can tell, they don't do anything.
No. They just go to a game or two, travel, and dine on a college football program's expense sheet. It's wonderful.
You know, it's incredible. It's a bit like being a consultant.
Wow, you almost got coffee across the room with that one, Jeff. That was a good line.
Boy, spoken like a guy who spent 30 years in radio. He's Jeff Cameron. He's dominating it in Tallahassee. You can follow him on Twix, Twitter/X at the letter J Cameron Show, J Cameron Show. I have to admit, what, if anything, has Mike Norvell said publicly? Because I've missed it.
Oh, he released a pretty good statement. I actually had to give him credit there. He talked a lot about how sick he felt for his players, that the, kind of the random pick and choosing and taking away the results on the field. And he worded it more eloquently than that. I was trying to harken back to yesterday when I was traveling back from Charlotte, exactly what he said. But yeah, he's disgusted for his players. But he talked about, how proud of the team he is and the season that they had, and that can't be taken away. He said a lot of things that coaches would say about a team that he absolutely loves. I think he genuinely, and you saw it from the reaction yesterday, I think it's less about, look, every coach wants to win a championship. I mean, that's why we're out here, right, competing. But I think he really feels bad for his players. He's asked them to do a lot. I mean, think about what a lot of those guys have been through. You go back to, we know, just a couple of years ago when I was talking to you guys, this was a bad football team and a program that was in disarray and had really been fairly obsolete for the past 8 years or so. And Mike, obviously had a modus operandi and a pitch and a belief in that he was trying to instill. And he asked a lot of guys to take a leap of faith and believe in what he was telling them. And they did. And, 2 years later, we look at an undefeated team and a team that won 10 games a year ago and all of that. He really wanted them to get their just due and rewarded. And that's what you hate. You just hate it for the guys, the guys that put in the hard work. Think about Florida State. It's kind of neat when you look at a team like that. I mean this objectively, not just because I went to Florida State, but honestly, like that's a cool story to watch guys. Jordan Travis, kind of a castaway quarterback, and there's a lot of stories like that with this team. That's who you're rooting for, are the guys that buy in, work hard. None of them have ever been in trouble. I mean, it's amazing. And I guess they'll just have to hold on to that ACC title and be proud of it. But, man, I feel for them. They certainly wanted the opportunity.
If I've got this right, the national championship for college basketball is on April 1st. How much longer do you give the ACC past April 1st to survive? Because we've thought it's going to blow up for a while, and if this wasn't the tipping point, I don't know what is, Jeff.
You're right. And, it's funny. I know the conversations with people I have behind the scenes in Florida State going into the bowl game, going into, the conference championship game. It would come up about the league and about the tenuous situation the league's in, about Florida State's position. And I can't wait to run into those same people now that they have been told in no uncertain terms, your conference does not matter. You can go 2-0 against the SEC. The rest of your conference can win its games. You can have an undefeated team. You can win all of those things. We just found out you do not matter. So I can't imagine that there aren't a lot of teams who were startled by that. Clemson, who feels very similarly to Florida State, North Carolina, oddly, who does as well. And I think obviously Miami, any number of teams now looking at this. If you're a coach in this league, I know you know that next year it's a 12-team playoff and something like this couldn't happen. But you have been told in no uncertain terms you are not seen on par with the Big Ten and the SEC.
Oh, forget on par. We don't know if you're even seen as in the area code. I mean, if we're to take the committee at their word, if Georgia had won, Florida State still would have been out because they would have put Texas in.
Yeah, it would have been interesting to me that you would have had a one-loss conference champion out of the Big 12. And listen, Texas's win at Alabama absolutely is a huge win. To do that in Tuscaloosa by more than 2 scores, like that, it's amazing. Yet the games have to matter, right? I mean, they lost to Oklahoma. What was it that Leighton, so that win over Oklahoma State, who got housed by UCF, is what did it for you, huh? I mean, I don't know, man. It's very frustrating.
Jeff, very quickly, gut feeling, if and when Florida State moves, SEC or Big Ten?
You know, I've always thought it was going to be the SEC, but I'm not so sure anymore. There are people who really, really want them to join the Big Ten. What's interesting is, I guess, if we're going to get to the root of this, you're watching the two super conferences akin to, what we're really talking about here is the two networks, Fox and ESPN. So it's a war between Fox and ESPN to get assets, which would obviously drive up the television product and the money garnered down the line and all that. And so I don't know. You're probably going to end up trying to use one against the other. It's leverage and all those things. But it makes geographic sense, certainly, for Florida State to join the SEC if they could get in. I don't know if they want to at this point. There's got to be a lot of animosity built up at this point. But what they do know is, animosity aside, you can't stay in the ACC. So you got to take the best offer, the first offer. If you have one in hand, you got to take it and go.
Jeff, as always, we appreciate your time, especially today. Enjoy the rest of the day. It'll be a hell of a show, I'm sure.
Thanks, guys. Be well.
Jeff Cameron, the voice of Tallahassee sports, Florida State sports, joining us here on Miller and Moulton. Tough day for the folks in Tallahassee, that is for certain. Chris Landry coming up next to break down the film, and JP Shadrick to talk the Jags. All ahead. Thanks so much for listening right here, Miller and Moulton.
Located on the East Trail, locally owned Naples Tiki Bar and Grill is an outdoor eatery next to the Hitching Post Shopping Center. Island-inspired food with a true tiki theme. The best place in Naples to enjoy the beautiful weather in Southwest Florida. The Naples Tiki Bar and Grill offers a great menu for dine-in or takeout. Enjoy our famous pulled pork, huge burgers, and tiki bar cocktails. Don't miss happy hour every day from 3 to 6 and live music 7 days a week. See you soon at the Naples Tiki Bar and Grill, 11498 Tamiami Trail East.
The law firm of Michael F. Hornung specializes in criminal defense, DUI, personal injury, nursing home claims, and auto accidents. I'm a former prosecutor with over 34 years of experience. The information I know is information you need to know. If you've been arrested for a DUI, time is of the essence to maintain your driving privileges. Call the law firm of Michael F. Hornung for a free consultation. At the law firm of Michael F. Hornung, we are committed to excellence in your representation. Being a local attorney with local knowledge is clutch to the success of your case. For over 30 years, we have successfully represented the citizens of Southwest Florida. For a free consultation, call 239-437-0095. That's 239-437-0095. Our offices are conveniently located in Fort Myers. Visit online at mfh-law.com.
Hello, friends and family of Southwest Florida. Are you looking to tap into the electric vehicle market? Well, look no further, because we here at Southwest Florida Golf Carts have just what you need. E-bikes, golf carts, LSVs, scooters, and more. Come down and talk with one of our experienced sales reps, have a soda and a smile, and you could be cruising the streets in your new EV today. Stop by the store or visit our website at flgolfcarts.com and enter for a chance to win $100 off your next purchase by answering John's monthly sports question.
Visit Jason and Todd at the Diamond District.
When choosing something of high value and personal significance, such as a diamond, you want to shop with the best. And the mall is not the place to be. Here are my friends, Jason and Todd with the Diamond District.
Take a stroll in the mall, pop into a few joy stores, and you'll soon discover you're in the wrong place. Rings begin to look all alike. You're not finding GIA certified diamonds. You quickly realize you know more than a salesperson helping you, and all the same financing gets pushed on you.
Visit Jason and me, and you'll find America's top bridal designers dealing exclusively with the Diamond District. You'll find the largest selection of GIA certified diamonds, all priced 8 to 10% over cost. You'll find educated sales consultants who have many years' experience and are not paid commissions.
And you'll find Todd and me in the store nearly every day, wanting to shake your hand and welcome you to our Diamond District family.
Visit Jason and Todd at the Diamond District.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network. Great get to get Jeff to do that this morning.
He likes us.
I know, but it's early in the morning.
Well, it's right after he dropped his kid off at school. It actually works for him. And it worked for us.
Worked perfectly for us.
Yeah.
Kidding me?
Listen, I don't want to say this is a big story or anything, but my wife and mother-in-law, when I went out to get a drink, just said, "Hey, what's this FSU deal?" That's all they're talking about on the morning shows.
Thanks, Janet.
I've never had my 83-year-old mother-in-law go, "Hey, what's the deal with FSU?" before.
My favorite is my mom, soccer game Sunday morning, and she starts, saying she's going to watch the Lions, and I'm like, "Mom, they're not on locally." Well, yeah, they're in the hunt. I said, that's not how it works, but that's how it should work. I appreciate it.
Listen, my question is, in Southwest Florida, you guys got Carolina, Tampa, right? You didn't get
we had the Dolphins at 1
and Bucks at 4.
But that was on CBS.
Carolina, Tampa?
Yeah.
Oh, wow, you got lucky.
I believe so. I mean, it doesn't matter to me, but yeah.
Because otherwise, that game, if it was
somehow
they
moved it to 405 and made it a CBS game.
Okay.
Because it was a 405 kick.
Right, I know, but normally
Fox only has the 425 kick in that slot.
Okay.
Because they have two. They had the Rams game too.
Yeah, the other one. Okay. Morning, Chris.
Morning.
How surprised were you?
Of what?
Florida State.
Oh, I wasn't surprised at all.
Oh, okay. Well, then hold that. Hold
that thought.
Yeah. Yeah. That's right. Sometimes I forget. You guys are throughout the entire state of Florida. I can imagine what y'all show's been like. Yeah, kind of.
It's been fun. It's been easy.
I know that obviously, but I wasn't.
Yeah, they don't get much easier than this, Chris.
Yeah, no, it's like, but yeah.
Listen, Chris, it takes a lot to knock. It's fine. It takes a lot to knock the NFL off the lead on a Monday, and college football did it.
Well, yeah, of course, in the deep South. I mean, I know you're on the South too, but y'all got a little bit more of a pro. The college football always.
Oh, I know.
Drives.
Right,
I mean, it's like the NFL will get mentioned in maybe the last block of the third hour on a SEC show. I mean, and it's yes, our team just went to the Final Four. We'll get to that in the third hour because we've got to talk about the recruiting weekend.
Right.
Oh, there was nothing better than when I lived in Nashville and Bill King was on LAC.
Bill's a good friend. Well, I
love
don't
Bill.
do a show anymore. I did a show for years, and I didn't know you knew Bill. You know,
He comes on our show every once in a while too. And when I first moved to Nashville, I'm there working hockey, minor league hockey, and I'm listening to LAC, and he, there's this kid from Brentwood, in Alabama, and I'm like, what in the hell are they talking about? I was blown away.
Yeah.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network. And now here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
And just like that, on a very lively, fast-paced Monday, the first such Monday of December, it's Chris Landry time. He of LandryFootball.com. Follow him on Twix, Twitter/X @LandryFootball. Chris, you've dedicated your life to this sport. You work for both college programs and NFL teams now in an advisory role. So you've been in both. You love the sport. You're located deep in the South in Louisiana. Your thoughts on the 4 teams that the playoff committee chose?
Well, a couple of things. One, I wasn't surprised. And
no, stop. Can I stop you there?
Yeah.
You genuinely were not surprised that they left a 13-0 Power 5 conference champion that has a little bit of a name in Florida State out.
I also heard Gene Corrigan's son, got help. Boo. Say over and over, if you listen, go back and listen, before this week, Florida State's not the same team, but the seed was planted. I don't want to get into. I don't want to bury the lead in this. We'll have another conversation another day about the system and how it works and how it doesn't work. But no, I could sense that seed was planted. That I don't listen to those guys because it's about a gobbledygook stuff. He said that 2 or 3 times. Florida State's not the same without Jordan Travis, and I thought, okay. And I'm not talking this weekend when they asked him to react. I'm talking. Go back and look. I could see that coming. Now, they tend to do things and then let it play out. It's like, and look, and I'm going to be honest with you. It may not be popular, and I apologize because I don't want to offend anybody. I look at it, but Florida State with Jordan Travis, I grade these teams in like 22 different areas. Florida State was the 3rd best team in the country with Jordan Travis. Without him, I have a hard time putting them higher than 7. Right now, what they accomplished during the year is absolutely deserving of being in the playoffs. But unfortunately, it's not the same team without Jordan Travis. So it's difficult. You're not one of the 4 best. And I hear this all the time. Well, Alabama got in on 4th and 31. No, Alabama got in because Jordan Travis got injured against North Alabama. That's the reality of it, in my view. But I'm not surprised because of, I think they planted the seed, even though maybe people weren't paying attention and people just assumed. Look, people are going to look at it differently. I completely am gut punched as a coach for Mike, who I've known since he was a player at Central Arkansas. And what he's done with that program and what he's done with that team, it's awful. But it's not about – no one deserves to get in the playoffs. No one earns it. It's unfortunately a system where it's not the NFL. It's not like you earn a wild card or an at-large. It's the 4 best. To me, what's the 4 best? Yeah, the film drives it a lot for me as a coach and as a scout. But it has to be augmented with results. And like, for example, I told you guys last week, I thought that Georgia was a little bit more complete. Hey, it doesn't matter what I think. Alabama proved that they're better. Unfortunately, for Florida State, they, during the year, proved that they're really good. In my view, the 3rd best team in the country with Jordan Travis. That team is not there now. And that's the difficult part. And in no one, I could just hear people just wanting to I get it. They're not the same team. And I saw enough to know that there is a precipitous drop between Jordan Travis and Tate Rodemaker. A precipitous drop. it's the most unfortunate thing, and I feel awful, and I wish they were, I wish there were better fate.
And the irony, and we talked about it, Gary Danielson brought it up early in the show today, it was the ACC
Jim
commission
Phillips.
that nixed the 12-team playoff for this year.
Jim Phillips was the ringleader of the alliance. Yes, to remind folks, I'm sure you guys have done it. Well, let's do it again. We have a 12-team playoff this year. And let's be transparent. Why they did it, why they tried to form the alliance. They felt that Mike Slive, while he was negotiating the playoff process with them, was also bringing in Texas and Oklahoma without anybody knowing. We know why nobody could know that, but they felt it was disingenuous. So, that is the irony, Mark. You're right. It's the irony. And you know what? I'll say this. It's what is so gosh blasted wrong with college football. It's boardrooms, it's politics that create the problems. And it takes what I think may be the greatest sport on the field. Saturdays are great, but the boardroom and the politics, and it's more complex than 32-team NFL. But man, do they screw it up time and time again in so many ways.
Chris, and we're talking with Chris Landry, LandryFootball.com, LandryFootball.com. Follow him on Twitter/X at LandryFootball. Mark has affectionately called this not the college football playoff, but the Bristol Invitational. More like a golf tournament, like the Masters is really the Augusta Invitational. Well, Chris, going forward, it becomes the Bristol Hollywood Invitational because Fox is going to have damn near an equal voice in this going forward. So we're just, instead of 4 versus 5, it's going to be 12 versus 13, right?
Yes. Therein lies what I just said, the politics that are involved. Unfortunately, college football was built on conferences doing their own thing. We all know the history of the NFL. If the Maras and, the Hallises would have said, we're in Chicago, New York. We're not going to do a TV contract with the league. We know why the NFL is great, because they got early on that we're competitors on the field, but we're business partners. College football is different. Yes, watching college football is like trying to figure out what's going on in the news. You're going to get Fox News, CNN, MSNBC. That's exactly where we are in college football. That's exactly what you're going to get. Go ahead and listen to a clip. ESPN owns the ACC network and the SEC network, or a partnership, whatever. Go listen to the clip of their viewpoint from the ACC and the SEC. It is overt biases, but then there's what I would call inadvertent biases, meaning people tend to know more about the team that they follow and the teams that they play, the team that play their team. So when you don't look at it objectively and you have these business dealings, of course you're going to have it. And they all say, "Well, I'm not biased," but that's when you know the biggest bias statement's coming out of their mouth. It's just absolutely, it's a frustration of politics, and it's only going to get worse for the reasons that you mentioned and what we're talking about with the problems of the sport.
But in your estimation, from the film, from your 22 categories that you break down, did they get the right 4 teams?
Yes, absolutely. And here's the thing. Because you have to look at the film and you have to look at the results. I heard people say, well, Georgia should be in then because they're one of the 4 best. No, they shouldn't. Because even though I may think that Georgia at their best might be a little bit better than Alabama, they didn't get it done on the field. And Alabama won the SEC championship. And I know people say, well, then Florida State did everything. They did everything. With Jordan Travis, absolutely. They shouldn't have been in at 4. They should have been at 3rd. And by the way, putting them at 5th is just, the reality is you can't put Florida State at 5th. If they're hindered that much by not having the quarterback, they should be 7th or 8th. But you know what they did? This is the politics. Well, we know we're going to get a backlash. So let's put them in the best bowl game, because it doesn't matter what bowl game you put them in, right? It's only the playoff. So let's put them in the best bowl game that we can, and let's pat them on the head, which to me I'm okay with, because I think they have been gut punched enough, but they're not right now without Jordan Travis, one of the top 5 teams, 6 teams. I've just said it. I think they're in a tie with about 4 teams for at best, the 7th best. They got the 4 best. I mean, you don't know who the best is until they all play one another. But looking at film and looking at the results, yes, Michigan has looked good, has not played a tough schedule. Washington has looked good and beaten good teams.
By the way, should Washington have been the one over Michigan? They got more quality wins. You know, we can do the strength of schedule thing.
I got Michigan and Washington on the same line. I got no problem if they did. I think that is the untold story, because who it matters big because of who you play in the first round.
Well, and where you play them, Washington is not happy about going to New Orleans. They wanted to go to the Rose Bowl. They're not happy about it.
They're not, but I will say this. I think they'd rather do that probably because as good as Texas is, they probably don't want to play Alabama either. I mean, I think they're happy getting in and playing. It is a valid point. It's the storyline that got buried yesterday for obvious reasons. But yeah, no, I think you can make the case, but I don't think it's clear Washington should be 1. It's very close to me. So I think you could have gone either way. 3 was easy. Texas is always going to be better than higher than Alabama, and should, because the head-to-head matters if the resumes are relatively equal. So yeah, Florida State should have been 3rd, unfortunately. And if people say it's not their fault that the guy got injured, it's nobody's fault. Nobody earns it. Nobody deserves it. It's the 4 best, and the 4 best is, at least I tell you how I come up with the 4 best. I can't speak for the committee. I'm not a big fan of it. But yeah, in this case, I think it's the right move of the 4 best. Do I like it for Florida State? Of course not. I don't like it. I dislike it as much as I can. It's the only thing to do in my mind if you're going to truly put what you think the 4 best is. And the games don't matter. They do matter. They all mattered. They all mattered. It's like, well, Alabama's better than Texas. That game mattered in September. Florida State's games mattered. Unfortunately, they're not the same team now as they were then. That to me is a tragic in a football sense. Tragic, I would say.
Chris, as always, we appreciate your time. We appreciate your passion for the sport and the things you bring to the table every week. Have a great rest of your day, and we'll do this again soon.
Hey, thank you so much. God bless, guys. Take care.
Chris
Landry.
LandryFootball.com. Follow him on Twix, Twitter/X @LandryFootball. And he even said he's got a personal connection with Mike Norvell. He's known him,
since he played.
Half his life, over half his life. Yeah.
Chris Landry. We'll talk with JP Shadrick in 25 minutes to get ready for the Bengals and the Jags. Thanks for listening. Miller and Moulton.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again. Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here.
Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're going to have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com. Located on the East Trail, locally owned Naples Tiki Bar and Grill is an outdoor eatery next to the Hitching Post Shopping Center. Island-inspired food with a true tiki theme. The best place in Naples to enjoy the beautiful weather in Southwest Florida. The Naples Tiki Bar and Grill offers a great menu for dine-in or takeout. Enjoy our famous pulled pork, huge burgers, and tiki bar cocktails. Don't miss happy hour every day from 3 to 6, and live music 7 days a week. See you soon at the Naples Tiki Bar and Grill, 11498 Tamiami Trail East.
Hello, friends and family of Southwest Florida. Are you looking to tap into the electric vehicle market? Well, look no further because we here at Southwest Florida Golf Carts have just what you need. E-bikes, golf carts, LSVs, scooters, and more. Come down and talk with one of our experienced sales reps, have a soda and a smile, and you could be cruising the streets in your new EV today. Stop by the store or visit our website at flgolfcarts.com and enter for a chance to win $100 off your next purchase by answering John's monthly sports question.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Well, Canada Relief, I disagree with that because we didn't know how the games were going to play out over the next 3 weeks. What I still find interesting is that if Georgia had won, the committee is saying they would have put Texas in over Florida State. So it would have been undefeated, Texas, then undefeated. Yeah,
I know a couple of you got mad at what Chris had to say. I mean, I don't know if the guy could have brought any more honesty and passion to that interview than he did. Chris is great every week, and that's the best he's ever been.
That was rock solid.
I mean, I'll put Jeff Cameron, Chris Landry, what they had to say and the way they had to say it back to back up with anybody doing this today. Be honest with you. You don't have to agree with it. When did that happen in this country? It used to be okay to agree to disagree. It's okay.
Well, especially when you can't change it. There's nothing that can be done at this point.
But it's plus the sport's an opinion-based sport. I mean, we've all pointed out how flippin' ridiculous it is that this major sport in this country is decided this way. But I think it's okay to disagree. I would rather have 10 conversations. It's actually why Mark and I get along. The reason that we formed a friendship was that we did not see things the same way. One guy was from the Northeast. The other guy was from Michigan. We both loved sports. We'd get around. We'd have a beer. We'd talk. We would disagree at least half the time. I found Mark
never ever once
a
disagreement where you're blankety blank. We were both blankety blanks coming into the conversation, which may have helped.
Exactly. But honestly, I found Mark interesting. It's why I liked him. I had found him interesting.
Empire, you may be right. Social media.
Oh, 100%.
Well, but I'm trying to think, did it happen before then, or is this just a 21st century phenomenon?
No, I think social media has a lot to do with because you can find groups that agree with everything you say. You can put yourself in a hole.
Say whatever you want and be shielded by you're not saying it to someone's face. You know what I mean? It's just different.
But I don't know. I'm bored if everybody in the room agrees. Because first off, now, like last night, I'm telling you, 10 NBC people all picked the Chiefs. And I'm like, well, the Packers are winning tonight. I mean, this is, obvious. This is how Vegas was built. I don't know. I just, I didn't agree with a good chunk of what Rush Limbaugh had to say. I was a Rush Limbaugh fan from the late 80s, like when he first went national. I found him fascinating. I found his points of view very interesting. He changed my mind about some things. I don't know. I've always been interested in not groupthink.
Well, I'll tell you what, academia right now, like college, that was a lot of groupthink.
Which is so amazing, Trent, because when Miller and Moulton went to college, that's where you had the freewheeling discussions.
Yeah.
All points of view. I mean,
well, I'll tell you what, COVID didn't help because that got politicized and that drove a wedge.
Yeah, but God, that was only 4 years ago. I mean, God, but Trent,
I know. I'm just saying.
If you could have gone to the philosophy class I had at the University of Scranton, it was the most fascinating hour of my day. every day that we had it. It was amazing.
Yeah, I believe it. I do.
And Socrates in a room together.
Oh, Socrates! What a fantastic mess he was.
Socrates and David Moulton.
God, what a mess! What a glorious mess he was.
I'm laughing because I've got the 4-letter network on, and they're going to talk about the rankings reaction, and it's Ryan Clark.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton, only on the Florida Sports Network.
21 minutes past the hour. JP Shadrick will join us in a little more than 15 minutes time. He's part of the Jags Radio Network. It is a very small story nationally. It is a monster story in Duval and surrounding counties. Jacksonville and the Jags have not been on Monday Night Football in 12 years. Think about it. The Jags have been bad for most of the 12. I mean, what did they used to get, Mark? The very early season
Thursday night
NFL Network game. They wouldn't even put them on Fox. No.
We'll guarantee your one primetime game, but it's going to be on the NFL Network, and it's going to be in September.
Yes. One of the first games we would do every year on Thursday night, Joe and Troy. Oh, this is an NFL Network game. Yep. Carolina at Jacksonville. Go. Yep. So the Jags in prime time, and let me tell you, it is a BFD. It's right up there with Florida, Georgia in terms of attention. That's how big this is.
Boy, could you imagine if there was a Burrow in the house and the game had even that much more energy? Because now the Jags are up to a 10-point favorite in this game. They are expected to win and win going away.
If Jacksonville were to win for the moment, they would technically be the 1 seed. Right now, before the game is played, the Miami Dolphins, with a slightly better conference record than Baltimore, has the 1. Kansas City, no matter what happens tonight, although that's not true, I guess. If the Jags lose, Kansas City would technically be the 3.
Correct.
And Jacksonville would drop to the 4. Feels like a must-win for Cincinnati at 5-6. They got, with Pittsburgh and Cleveland losing yesterday, the teams with 6 losses caught a break in the AFC. It was a good day for the Bills yesterday. I mean, yeah, the Dolphins won, but Pittsburgh and Cleveland losing, it's like, oh, okay.
Well, I've been listening to the NFL committee, and I think they're going to select the Bills instead of the Steelers because of the quarterback situation. Oh, I'm sorry.
That's such good material right there. Man, oh, man, that is magnificent. Yes, that's the dominant story of the day. Quick sidebar, by the way. Ohio State's quarterbacks entered the transfer portal. That son of a... He lost 1 game. Bum, get him out of here. So McCord's out there for the taking. But back to Florida State getting hosed in most people's eyes, which I'm a little surprised about. It's obviously our poll question today, floridasportsnetwork.com, that Mark Miller, the David Moulton. So who would you have picked at number 4, Florida State or Alabama? And it's round 2-1, Florida State. I'm surprised.
David, then there's this text. I listen to the podcast every day. I just wanted to say that the College Football Playoff Committee made my weekend. Was able to see the Dogs choke, see FSU left out. Best of both worlds. Couldn't have gone any better. Then I get to watch the Dogs drill FSU in the Orange Bowl. As a Gator fan, it couldn't be any better.
Well, obviously a very biased opinion, but that's what makes college football. Listen, we've gotten comments in the Twitch chat room today from Gator and Canes fans who have both said, I got to be honest, thought Florida State should have been in. I was like, whoa. So that's when you know. I mean, when the occasional Gator and Canes fans going, yeah, they got screwed. Whoa. All righty then.
I like this texter who says, some say Florida State would get destroyed against any other college football playoff teams. And some say they deserve their shot, but I guess we'll never know.
Oh.
See what he did there?
Yeah, I do. I'll say it again. I thought Washington's win over Oregon was going to help Florida State avoid this situation. Because it would put a 13-0 team in, but also because Washington was a 10-point dog. Nobody was picking Washington to beat Oregon in the rematch. No one.
No, it was my best bet was Oregon, by the way.
Right.
I had a winning week. My best bet went in the tank.
For the record, my best bet was SMU, but we picked all the bowl games.
Championship games.
Yeah.
We will pick all the bowl games. We will. Don't kid yourself.
Oh, yeah, all 43 of them, right?
Absolutely.
But for the record, since we both made 12 picks this week, right?
That's right.
Mark went 7-5. I went 6-6. 6-4 on college. I'd like to thank the Steelers and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers very much. 5-point favorites at home. You bums. That is something that's getting lost today is, wow, Tampa Bay's just a bad team.
Bad.
And if it wasn't for Mike Evans, they'd be like top 3 pick in the draft bad. I mean, seriously.
Mike Evans, I don't know about done more, but you've been talking at Mike Evans for a couple of years. When this guy's a first ballot Hall of Famer.
To me, he is.
I think he's done more for his Hall of Fame candidacy this year with this team and the numbers he's still putting up than maybe at any other time.
10 consecutive 1,000-yard seasons to start his career. No one else has even done 8. That's every receiver in the history of the sport, by the way. 10 consecutive 1,000-yard seasons. You think Kansas City could have used him? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Imagine Mike Evans with Patrick Mahomes, what that offense would look like. Yeah. And by the way, he's not just a big target in the red zone. The Bucs are terrible in the red zone. Mike Evans is making explosive plays this year. How about that catch and run and touchdown yesterday against Carolina?
Right.
They were losing in the third quarter.
I mean, when the old guy ran away from everybody?
Right.
What do you think he'll get this offseason?
He'll get paid. In all honesty, he'll get around 20-something million. I think he'll get 4 years, 90 million, and he'll get the first 50 of it guaranteed. I think he'll get his first 2 years fully guaranteed. But and it might even be $100 million contract. He's a 1. He's still a 1.
And they stink.
They're not good. No, they are not. They are not. But they're only a game out of first. And in theory, they have 3 more NFC South games on their schedule. They win those 3 games. That's 8. That may and with a 5-1 division record, if they just take care of business in the NFC South, somebody will have to get to 9 wins to finish ahead of them. So if you're Tampa Bay at 5-7, you're looking around the room going, we're actually still in control here. So we'll see.
There are going to be some mediocre teams and bad teams that qualify for the playoffs in the NFC. And even in the AFC, you're looking at the Colts that have a legit shot to make the playoffs, and I don't think they're that good.
How about the story of stories? If the NFL were college football, we'd have to eliminate 3/4 of the AFC North. Cleveland's quarterback's out for the year. Cincinnati's quarterback's out for the year. And Pittsburgh's quarterback may be out for the year. They're saying at least 2 to 3. He may need surgery. And they said if he has to go under the knife, he done. So, Mark, the AFC North is about ready to be voted out of the playoffs by the College Football Playoff Committee.
And I'm voting out Indianapolis because I've seen it with my own eyes. I'm going to put Buffalo in, even if the records aren't the same. The NFL committee that I'm on, we're going to make amends to that.
Okay, so
just like the Bristol Invitational.
So the Steelers, the Browns, the Bengals, and in Mark's case, if it comes down to Bills, Colts, he's voting out the Colts, even if they're a game ahead of them in the standings.
It's the way it works.
Best four.
If the NFL actually operated this way. I mean, Mark, it's almost as crazy as one league having the DH and the other not for 50 years. I mean, how absurd is that? JP Shadrick, never bordering on the absurd, always insightful, with a great set of pipes. He's next.
Visit Jason and Todd at the Diamond District.
When choosing something of high value and personal significance, such as a diamond, you want to shop with the best. And the mall is not the place to be. Here are my friends, Jason and Todd, with the Diamond District.
Take a stroll in the mall, pop into a few joy stores, and you'll soon discover you're in the wrong place. Rings begin to look all alike. You're not finding GIA certified diamonds. You quickly realize you know more than a salesperson helping you, and all the same financing gets pushed on you.
Visit Jason and me, and you'll find America's top bridal designers dealing exclusively with the Diamond District. You'll find the largest selection of GIA certified diamonds, all priced 8 to 10% over cost. You'll find educated sales consultants who have many years' experience and are not paid commissions.
And you'll find Todd and me in the store nearly every day, wanting to shake your hand and welcome you to our Diamond District family.
Visit Jason and Todd at the Diamond District.
The law firm of Michael F. Hornung specializes in criminal defense, DUI, personal injury, nursing home claims, and auto accidents. I'm a former prosecutor with over 34 years of experience. The information I know is information you need to know. If you've been arrested for a DUI, time is of the essence to maintain your driving privileges. Call the law firm of Michael F. Hornung for a free consultation. At the law firm of Michael F. Hornung, we are committed to excellence in your representation. Being a local attorney with local knowledge is clutch to the success of your case. For over 30 years, we have successfully represented the citizens of Southwest Florida. For a free consultation, call 239-437-0095. That's 239-437-0095. Our offices are conveniently located in Fort Myers. Visit online at mfh-law.com.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Ladies and gentlemen who are watching, University Alabama alum JP Shadrick joins the show. JP, how are you?
I'm doing pretty good. How are you guys today? What's happening?
Now, do you keep a low profile at the office today, surrounded by a few knolls, and never mind all the dogs in Jacksonville?
Or do you change shirts before you go in and wear an Alabama golf shirt?
Right.
All this time, Alabama has not given me a ring. So I really, in the grand scheme of things, don't care. It's fine. I really don't.
Wow.
And they got in. It'll be a great game. The Rose Bowl, Michigan, Alabama. Florida State got screwed. And Georgia probably deserved a chance to defend again. All those things are true. So there's going to be two fan bases that are upset. That's what it is.
Do you have a shot at doing either of those semifinal games for Westwood?
No, those are ESPN.
That's ESPN right. The ESPN radio. I'm sorry.
Yep.
By the way, our new producer Trent is a Michigander and a Lions season ticket holder. What did the assignment you just picked up?
Oh yeah, the Saturday game.
Broncos?
Broncos Lions. Yep.
Nice.
That game on Westwood. So should be a big matchup. The Lions win again. All of a sudden they're within reach of, dare I say, the number one seed out there in the NFC somehow.
Moulton's prediction of the Lions and Jags each having one seeds is still there for the taking.
It's still alive.
I can't believe that either the Bills or the Dolphins or the Chiefs, nobody could come through for the Lions. And because right now, I mean, that would be 3 losses for Philly, 3 losses for Detroit, 3 for Dallas.
Trent.
What?
JP did the game in Detroit. You lost to the 4-6 Packers at home. It's
No,
on
you
you.
didn't lose.
It's on
Got your
you.
asses kicked.
Yeah, it's
it
on
wasn't.
you.
It was
I mean,
more
that
than just
wasn't
an
even
L.
close.
Look, I know.
No, you don't. No,
I
do
you
know.
shouldn't be blaming anybody else.
I told
It's
you
on
last
you.
week the 1 seed was out of play for my team. I'm looking at it now with the Eagles looking as bad as they did the other day.
Well, actually, yeah. If I were you, Trent, to me the key is, can you get the 2?
Well, the only reason that I don't think they're going to get the 1. They
Can you
control their
get the
destiny with
2?
Dallas. They play Dallas. So if Dallas beats Philly and then you beat Dallas, there's a chance that even with 2 losses, you need the Niners to lose 1 more, but
Well, no, I'm saying to get the 2. The Niners have the best conference record. Niners win out. Philly loses 1 more game. Niners are going to be the 1. But can you get the 2?
get the home playoff game against the 7.
Well, but also in theory get a better first round matchup too.
Well, end the playoff drought streak for 1. Win a playoff game.
And then host the second round game, because you're not going to go on the road and win a divisional playoff game. It's not going to happen.
I don't think so either.
Think about who you're going to be playing. You're going to be playing either Dallas, Philly, or San Francisco.
Yeah.
That ain't going to happen unless you go to Dallas on December 30th and win.
Unless you go to Dallas.
And that's why I say they control their own destiny with Dallas, at least. That's the only team of those top 3 that's on their schedule. So
I love the first play
Just
from
beat
scrimmage
Chicago.
on Thanksgiving. Jordan Love was like, you know what? We're going deep, baby.
Did you break out? Did you break out your Bum Phillips? Run the Bomberooski?
They were like, enough of this.
Enough
we
of
are
this.
going
Taking
in.
it, Duncan. We are changing things right now.
Weeks in a row. That guy's looked really good.
Yeah, he has.
This is the longest week ever, by the way.
Well, dude, I know we're coming out right now, but you didn't have a game this weekend. God almighty. Outside of your bye, that never happens. Even sometimes on your bye, you're doing a Saturday gig.
It's Monday night games take forever to get here.
Hey, 12 years. Relax. Suck it. Just enjoy it.
I just had to sit around and watch football all weekend. What kind of weekend is that? Like, this is... Oh, yeah. This is the way it normally is.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton, only on the Florida Sports Network.
He does college football in the NFL for Westwood One. He's part of the Jags Radio Network, and he joins us once again. He's JP Shadrick. He's all out of sorts. He didn't have a game to call this weekend. All he did was sit around, eat, drink, and watch football. And his alma mater's the SEC champion, and they're in the playoff. Boy, your weekend sucked.
This is brutal. I don't know how to even deal with this. This is like the way everybody does it every weekend, I think. I mean,
yes.
And you didn't like it. You had my
I
life.
didn't say that. I said it was different. I didn't say I didn't like it. I said it was a little different. I can get used to it.
Okay. You've been with the Jags how many years? 11?
This is my 12th season.
Okay. So were you there for the last Monday night game, or was that the season before you?
No, I was in Oklahoma City as the AAA announcer in 2011, and then I got the job in 2012. So, no, I was not here. There were only a handful of front office business side people that were actually around then, and not many.
12 years tomorrow is the last time the Jags have been on Monday Night Football, right? Hosting a game. This has almost a Florida-Georgia feel in the Jacksonville area. That's how much this occasion is being celebrated, isn't it?
It feels like it. I mean, it's just been a long time coming. Just waiting 2 weeks. The Jags haven't been on Sunday night since 2008. So we get to do all this again in a couple weeks when the Jags host the Ravens. But yeah, there's been so much that's happened between then and now. I mean, think about the week before that game in 2011. Wayne Weaver, then owner, decided to fire Jack Del Rio and announce he was selling the team, all in the same press conference. Then this Monday Night Football game happened. Phillip Rivers threw 3 touchdown passes. I think Maurice Jones-Drew had a pretty good scrimmage yardage day, but it didn't matter. They got blown out. and Mr. Khan was in the building that night. But then the next week, the official vote came down from the league owners that had approved the sale of the team to Mr. Khan. The next week, they were in Atlanta, and then he officially took over at the end of the season. So it was interim head coach Mel Tucker that coached that game. And since then, including Mel Tucker, there have been 7 head coaches. 9 different players have started at quarterback for the Jaguars. And there have been 4 different GMs/VPs of football operations. So with that much change, and the losing records and terrible wins and losses and all this, that's TV executives don't really like that too much. Imagine that.
And this was a little bit higher profile game when there was a Joe Burrow involved, but now the national TV audience gets to see some Trevor Lawrence. And it's time, at least for me, JP, for that, that offense played great against the Titans last week, had a nice game, nothing outrageous. But to me, this is one of those nights that I want to see Trevor Lawrence's coming out party, if you will. I want to see him have a performance against a decent defense without a lot of offense. They should have plenty of opportunities. To me, this is the Trevor Lawrence game. Do you see it that way?
It feels like it, right? I mean, I think they're still going to run the ball a little bit because they need to. That's just what they are. But Trevor's going to push it down the field a little bit, it feels like. And he started to do that last week, and the last couple weeks, it's really come back into play. And Ridley's really taken off a little bit. Having Zay Jones back has helped that some. But you got to protect it, too. And they've had some changes to the offensive line again. Cam Robinson is out for another 3 weeks or so. So it's Walker Little at left tackle. It's Ezra Cleveland at left guard. They liked what they saw in about a half a game last week when they had to change mid-game to do that. So if he has the time and the confidence in that time, then yes, he can push it down the field. And this is his first really big, yes, he's had the late season stuff last year, but now that it's established, okay, this is the moment you can go out in front of the nation and put together a big-time performance as a quarterback.
Well, and it was a very subtle move just before the deadline when the Jags picked up Ezra Cleveland from the Vikings for a song, really, wasn't it? Like a 6th-round pick. Yeah. And we're like, wow, that's a starting guard for that. And now look, they drafted Walker Little, 2nd round a couple years ago. This is probably the left side of the line going forward rest of the year, maybe into 24.
Maybe. Yeah. I mean, Cleveland, this is the final year of Cleveland's deal, so they'd have to work out something in the offseason, whatever. But they had him here as they knew last season they needed 7 linemen because they had injuries late last season. Cam Robinson was hurt late last year, too. And Walker had to step in there and play and played really well. So they liked what they had in him. And they knew they needed an extra interior guy somewhere. So they went out and got it. Hey, let's just, just in case. And the in case happened. So, all right, this could be. We'll see how they play the next week or two, but they feel like this is a good start because they got the rookie at the right side at Anton Harrison. They have some veteran right guard and Brandon Sheriff, and who knows what his long-term future is. You might have to go get another guard or figure out the other part after the season. That's for the offseason. We've got plenty of time for that. They've got a young center who's up and coming. So, hey, this could be the group. The bulk of this 5 could be back in the next season or 2 to come.
What do you find out defensively from a team when you're playing against a backup quarterback and you should be able to dominate? I mean, this is a game when you look at their defense, they should be able to handle Cincinnati without problems. What do you look for defensively out of the Jags tonight?
I think it's still the same formula. They're going to stop Joe Mixon and they're going to put it in his hands and make him beat you. And, they're going to try to get it out fast. It'll be quick throws. It'll be, let's not stand back there with Browning in the football. So if somehow you can get him to hold the ball a little longer, then the rush gets going and you're fine. But they still have the skill guys outside. It's not like they're not there. So if he gets it out of his hands fast to those guys, that's probably the best formula for Cincinnati. From a Jags perspective, it's stop that run, force that to happen, and then go make plays on the ball. I think you're aggressive on the outside and things tonight, going after balls. I think this is a chance they could get a couple takeaways in this game because they're going to have to get it out fast. They're going to get it out fast, so go after it. I think this defense will should have at least the formula to have a really good night tonight. Couple takeaways, stop the run, pressure on the quarterback, And this is the defense that you've seen all season long.
JP, you're a pretty objective guy. It's one of the reasons why not just us, but our audience has liked you when we've had you on talking about the Jags. You don't sugarcoat it. And we give the Jags organization a lot of credit. You, Baselli, Pete Prisco do a lot of work on Jags.com, and that organization has let you guys let it fly for years. I don't know what has happened behind the scenes when you've let it fly, but they've kept you on the air. Okay. So with that being said, now you get to let it fly in a different direction. When you see the league, all right, when you look at the Jags and you're comparing them now, Baltimore, Miami, Kansas City, are the Jags as good as any of them?
Well, yeah. I mean, the Jags should have beat the Chiefs back in week, 2, 3? I forget when that was, week 2. But they didn't, and they were still trying to figure out what they were. Do they have the explosion of Miami? I don't know if anybody has the explosion of the Miami offense on the outside. But they're beatable. We've seen that before. It's really coming down to me to 2 weeks when the Ravens are here. The Ravens are playing the best football in the AFC. They can punch you. They can run. Their defense is nasty. And the number 1 seed is going to be figured out, I think, in that game. I mean, if the Jaguars win tonight, they're the number 1 seed right now. But you still got to get through Baltimore. And if they win out, then the Jags are the number 1 seed. It's a lot of football left to be played. But that Baltimore game will be the one. Because if you knock them off in December on Sunday Night Football, okay, then that tells you a whole lot about what this team can be in the playoffs and beyond. And I think they're right there on the doorstep of that. They're right in that conversation, Dave. And they just have to go prove it now. They've never been able to do this as a front runner. They've never been a front runner to have to deal with this. So how does this younger still group handle that? And I think Doug Peterson will have them locked in and ready to go for really the foreseeable future. I don't see them slipping much.
Well, and JP, I mean, just their excitement about tonight, their approach, it seems that they're handling this the right way. They're confident, but not arrogant. They're embracing the moment and I know it's Monday football, but it's a big deal in Jacksonville. So they're embracing that moment. They're embracing where they are. It seems that right now, because of last year, maybe because of how they turned it around after the loss to the Niners, that they seem to have not a problem embracing success. And some teams struggle with that.
It's so far, right? I mean, they've been able for the most part to deal with that. And, they did that when early in the season, right? They were 1-2 and they got smoked by the Texans, and they go to London, they win those games, they start building a little momentum, they're winning some games different ways, and all of a sudden they're right back in the conversation again. And then they get slapped down again by the San Francisco 49ers, and it's the whole kind of humbled them again, so hopefully the humbling games are over with. Maybe they got that out of their system with the 2 big humbling games that they had that sprung winning streaks after that. And, at some point you just have to learn how to deal it and just go play. I mean, it is a night game. It's a Monday night game, but it is not the first night game anybody's ever played. Like, people have played on night games before, and just get that out of your system and go play against what is still a really, it's still a good team. They just don't have the quarterback right now. The Bengals are still a dangerous team. This is not a rollover. I don't know if they're going to blow them out. I think they go win the game, though.
T. Higgins, I think, expected to play tonight also for the Bengals after missing the last few. Jags hosting the Bengals, Monday Night Football. Jacksonville, in some places, as big as a 10-point favorite, but the line's been right around 9 for a while. All right, you, between Touchdown Radio and Westwood One, you have broadcast a lot of college football over the last 10 years. Mm-hmm. The college football broadcaster in you, your thoughts on the 14 playoff, who would you have voted for?
That's Michigan's going to get in mine. Washington.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm good with the top 3. The 4th one is tough. The 4th one obviously is tough. It's what the whole conversation is
So
about.
You would have had Texas in theory. Let's just say you're about to say I would have voted Florida State.
I think
you would have had Texas ahead of Florida State.
I don't know about that, but I know Sark did what he needed to do in the championship game by blowing them out. And we're putting the pedal down and going. We have to prove whatever we can as Texas in this championship game. And they did it. And then all of a sudden the committee's like, oh, that's the last thing they saw was Texas throttling in the Big 12 game. Okay, well, credit Texas for doing what they needed to do in that moment. Now, I'm with you. The undefeated conference champion thing, that they probably should have been above Texas. However, part of the
No. We know the criteria, the whole deal. We're asking you, how would you have, Miller and Moulton would have voted Florida State in over Alabama. We were on the record a month ago as saying, if this scenario plays itself out, we're going with the Noles.
Did you watch the ACC championship game, though?
Yes.
I mean, in between nodding off, but yes, I did watch
that brand of football.
In between nodding off.
To my point of the last thing you see, Texas did what they did. The last thing they did, Florida State's product was what it was on Saturday in the ACC championship game. Fair or not, that's the last thing you see as a committee, knowing that the starting quarterback's not there. I don't like it. I still think they got screwed. I think the Alabama-Michigan game is going to be a fantastic football game. I think it's a perfect matchup. I mean, they are set for each other, and it will be – you can't miss that game. Florida State did get screwed. They should be in. Georgia probably deserved a shot to defend somehow, even though they lost in the SEC game. They're right there, and they're good enough to be in that conversation. So I think all three things are true. That's about as risky as I'll get.
After he's done doing the Jags, he's going to run for political office, don't you think?
Well, next year we don't have to worry about this.
No.
12 teams.
Just like a politician knowing full well, hey, this vote's over. I'm never going to have to make this vote again.
Wipe my hands, clean of it. We're done. But the game is that they're putting the best games together, and the best game will be Michigan, Alabama.
And it's a TV show at the end of the day. We've been saying it for a long time. Mm-hmm. He's JP Shadrick, part of the Jags radio network, besides college football and NFL on Westwood One. His next NFL game on Westwood One, by the way, Denver and Detroit. So if you're not watching, be listening. JP, have a great call. And the 14 hours you're going to be on the air tonight, knock yourself out.
Yeah, we got pregame starting at 5 in Jacksonville. The game's at 8:15. Yep. I get to see David Moulton in the flesh tonight on Monday night. That's Mark. Let me tell you, that's worth the price of admission.
I'm glad you figured it out, JP. I'm glad you figured it out. Meet for a pregame meal.
Oh, we will. Don't worry about that.
The women in my life love him. They love his voice. They want to go home with him. I want to punch him in the mouth. He's JP Shadrick. Follow him on Twix, Twitter/X at JP Shadrick. That's our show along the network. The Diamond District Bonus Hour is next.
Visit Jason and Todd at the Diamond District.
20 years ago, Jason and I had the idea for a jewelry store like no other, with a vast selection of certified diamonds priced 8 to 12% over cost. A team of individuals who are educated, driven, and believe in cultivating relationships.
Today, we have become one of the largest independent jewelry stores in the country. Todd and I love what we do and are in the store nearly every day, along with our GIA gemologists, master jewelers, custom designers, and non-commissioned diamond consultants, all of which we consider family.
As direct diamond importers, we travel the world, forging relationships and sourcing diamonds. What we love most about our business is that we can call Southwest Florida our home.
If selection, value, and comfort are important to you, give the Diamond District an opportunity. You won't find a better diamond buying experience. Todd and I look forward to shaking your hand and welcoming you to our Diamond District family.
At the Diamond District.
The law firm of Michael F. Hornung specializes in criminal defense, DUI, personal injury, nursing home claims, and auto accidents. I'm a former prosecutor with over 34 years of experience. The information I know is information you need to know. If you've been arrested for a DUI, time is of the essence to maintain your driving privileges. Call the law firm of Michael F. Hornung for a free consultation. At the law firm of Michael F. Hornung, we are committed to excellence in your representation. Being a local attorney with local knowledge is clutch to the success of your case. For over 30 years, we have successfully represented the citizens of Southwest Florida. For a free consultation, call 239-437-0095. That's 239-437-0095. Our offices are conveniently located in Fort Myers. Visit online at mfh-law.com.
Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here.
Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're going to have to go around again.
That's pretty damn
If you had
good.
the opportunity to avoid
Yeah.
all of this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live
good.
is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Yeah, Mark, I think we put our best foot forward today. I mean, which by the way is a good day. I hope a certain someone was listening because I meet with him an hour and a half.
Oh yeah, he was.
Or 2.5 hours.
Yeah, he was in the chat room, I thought.
Empire, it's a great point, that if Alabama were undefeated, if the situation was reversed, do we think they would have put Florida State in ahead of Alabama?
No,
we don't. And that's the other thing, which I'm telling you is not getting talked about today. So the committee is saying that if Georgia had won, they would have put Texas in. That's what the committee said.
Yes.
I mean, think about that, by the way. For as much as people are blown away about this, I mean, put it this way. If Georgia had won, Mark, even you, who really thought there was a chance this could happen.
I didn't think they were to put Texas in ahead of Florida State.
But the committee
told you that they would have.
They would have.
By the way, that wouldn't have been very sexy either.
No, I know. Michigan, Texas. Well, no, Georgia, Texas. Would have been Georgia, Texas, Michigan, Washington. Thanks, Logic Man. Yeah, we did a good job today. Well, I will say, Logic Man, if there's a program out there that has earned the benefit of the doubt, you would have to argue it's Alabama. I mean, we would not have done it. We would have voted in Florida State.
I see Logic Man a lot over at the fields.
That's outstanding. Adam, you say a lot of things, though. You have to, you don't always own up to the other things.
Well, and you say a lot of crazy things, too. You say some things that are relevant. Every once in a while, you say things just to make sure we're paying attention. You have to admit that.
Adam's in his glory tonight. Okay.
How about Solid Oak Tree? There's going to be at the game.
Oh, wow.
Said that in
I mean,
okay, so we're all sick of Alabama. Just really quickly, Logic Man, who are you rooting for, Michigan or Alabama? The Cheaters or Saban?
I swear we need a little Dana Carvey on Saturday Night Live. Saban. No, Empire 7's 100% Michigan.
I'm 100% Alabama. I want them to destroy Michigan. I mean, destroy Michigan.
Oh, you want to
Nothing would make me
destroy?
happy.
See, there's a part of me that always thinks the last second field goals,
No, because then they could have won. No, I want no.
Saban so he can retire. Did a hell of a job this year.
That was a great job by Gary, by the way, in the moment, saying you got to look at that on that.
Well,
I know, but David, it's only the biggest effing call of the year.
Here we go.
We could talk about it.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network. And now here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
It is the Diamond District bonus hour on this first Monday of December. What a sports weekend it was. Our poll question is what you would expect it to be. So who would you have voted number 4, Florida State or Alabama? At last glance from me, it was nearly 2-1 Florida State. Both Miller and Moulton would have voted Florida State in. We were on the record for weeks as saying that. Mark was on the record for at least a couple of weeks as saying, I think there's a chance they get left out. When I went, come on, 13-0. And Mark said, Alabama. And Mark was right.
Not what I wanted, not what I would have done, but you got the sense in the last couple of weeks that the narrative changed. And we all know where it changed and who it changed by and who it changed for. But when it became louder and louder and louder as last week was going on, I was nervous for Florida State. And nobody was campaigning for the Noles.
And we had Jeff Cameron on the show a little over an hour ago. And granted, he covers Florida State and he does sports in Tallahassee. But he was saying on our show, where was Jim Phillips, the commissioner of the ACC? Greg Sankey was on game day politicking for at least one SEC team. I mean, he made the point. I don't think, I think we should get both of them in if Alabama wins. But, his overall point was there's no way we should be left out of the playoff. I mean, he even went Sesame Street. One of these things is not like the other when comparing the SEC to the rest of college football. I mean, he dissed Michigan along the way. Not about the scandal, just about their record and who they had played. So, Greg Sankey had the propaganda machine working Saturday morning. I don't know whether the machine worked or what have you, but Bama's in. And apparently, if Georgia had won, Texas would have been in over Florida State also. Wow.
That is the other part of this that is being neglected. Texas at 3.
Now, that makes sense in comparison to Alabama. Why? Same record, both conference champions. One team beat the other. Okay, that makes sense. But the committee is saying, well, if Georgia had won, we would have gone Georgia, Michigan, Washington, Texas. I don't know if the outrage, I think the outrage would have been less, but the shock factor would have been higher. And as it was, Mike Norvell was damn near picking himself up off the floor after watching it on the big screen. So that's our poll question. That Mark Miller, the David Moulton, or text in at 21,000. And if you've never texted before, but this is like, okay, I'm finally going to text you, yahoos. Well, then you have to send in a keyword, FSN radio, to 21,000. That gets you in, and you never have to do it again.
Buckeye fan happy that Michigan's playing Alabama, not Florida State.
Oh, I think there's quite a few people that are happy that Michigan at least got Bama instead of a wounded Florida State. Yeah. Listen, if I'm a Michigan fan, you know what? Good. If we're going to win the national title, I want to beat the SEC champion. I want to beat whoever else. And then no more questions, right? We ended the year beating Ohio State, Alabama, and let's just say it's Texas. You lined them up. We knocked them down. Shut up. Give me my trophy. Harbaugh, good luck in Chicago.
Or is it Vegas?
Right. Or is it, who knows? Maybe Grand Poobah, Carolina. Who knows? Whatever. Maybe Los Angeles, the Chargers. Anyway, we digress.
But Alabama had some good fortune once again. Because late in the first half, they completed a pass that, well, may have hit the ground, David.
So it's 4th and 4.5 on about their 38-yard line. So they pass up the 55, 56-yard field goal. They pass up the punt. They're going to go for it. Nick and Kirby have done dueling timeouts. Okay. Kirby calling timeout to put the pressure on Alabama. Hey, if you don't convert this, we're going to take over in good field position with plenty of time left. And oh, by the way, we get the second half kickoff, so we can move down, get a field goal, tie this sucker up, and then we get the ball to start the second half. Nick's saying, well, hell with that. We're going for it. Let's go. We're going to convert. We're going to go score. Take that. And it was Milroe to Isaiah Bond, and he makes a diving catch in between the numbers and the sideline. Or did he? Alabama goes up tempo. Now, do I think they went up tempo because they wanted to hide that? No, I think they went up tempo because we were down to about a minute to go in the half, and they were going to go tempo anyway. But because they went tempo, Mark, there's less time for the replay official to view it. Now, he could have stopped the game.
Yes, he could have. The irony is he does it early in the third quarter on a Georgia play that was clearly a catch and stops the play there that has every Georgia fan incensed that they review that one, but not the first one.
Right. Now, Gary Danielson, to his credit, and we only were able to get 2 replays on TV before Alabama snapped the ball. But on the second replay, Gary said, oh, I'd take a look at that. And obviously they didn't. And there's the one frame that's on Twitter in which it looks as if is that ball on the ground? Does that receiver have control of that? Or is that ball for ever split second did he lose control of it? And we said this on the air that, we asked at halftime, did you take a look at that? And we were told, when I say we, I mean CBS, that, yeah, the replay official took a look at it and he was okay with it. And he didn't want to stop play. And I will say, we've gotten to know some officials over the years on this show. There is a little bit of pressure, both college and pro. Hey, don't stop the game unless you have to. Okay? Don't. Now, I would argue that was a situation where I know we just had dueling timeouts in the game. I think I need to take a look at this. Mark, this is where, as a replay official, I think you wait to the last possible second, and right before they're going to snap, you buzz down, you go, yeah, I need a second look at this. But the replay official said, I took a look at it. I'm okay with it. Gene Sarator, CBS's rules official. And Gene was in the booth for the SEC championship game. Most games he's in a New York studio. He was in the booth. He was to my right. Gary's to my left. Gene is to my right. Gene, not before the next snap, but Gene before or right around the time Alabama scored. Put it this way. He told me this during the commercial break after Alabama had scored. Gene said, I don't know if that's a catch. And I certainly would have stopped it. So we get Gene on the air before the start of the second half. And Gene says that on the air. Now, Gene was basically asked, would you have overturned it? And he said he would have. Mark, I ask you, we could ask people, because obviously this turns out to be a pretty big deal for Florida State, or
Right.
would it have if they're putting
Yeah,
Texas
right.
in no matter what? But, that led to 7 points. And Georgia doesn't take over on their own 38 and a chance to drive 25, 30 yards. We're in field goal range. Okay. Now, obviously, in a 3-point game, the catch, no catch, which directly leads to 7 points, is a big play. Mark, did you think it was a catch, yes or no?
Live, I thought it was a catch.
I did too, live.
When I saw the replay, it certainly looked as if that ball, that he didn't have possession. Based on the hands were not underneath the ball through the catch, the way, someone in our Twitch chat room compared it to the Ayuk touchdown last night. His hands were under that ball the entire time. The ball can touch the ground if your hands are underneath the ball.
Correct.
I thought the ball moved in the Alabama-Georgia game.
So you would have overturned the catch. That's what you're saying. Upon further review, okay, if you had that lie, and we showed the 2 replays, and before Alabama snapped the ball, were you okay with them snapping the ball, or had you already said, whoa, hold on? Because the best replay that we showed was the 3rd replay.
Bingo.
That was after they had snapped it.
There was nothing while I saw the 2 replays that said stop it.
But when we saw the 3rd replay, which is after Alabama had run the ball up the middle for no gain and called a timeout, then we went back to the play a 3rd time. This, by the way, is the damage, and I do mean damage, that the no-huddle offense causes the television product. Those of us in television hate the hurry up, hate it. And this is exactly why. Okay, now Alabama picked up the pace, not because whether it was catch or no catch. I believe they did it because there's a minute to go in the half and the clock's running. But
the ball was caught in bounds. He didn't go out of bounds. The clock was going to start. So I don't think they were hurrying it. I'm with you. I think they hurried up because we're late in the half.
Right. And remember, clock doesn't stop for as long this year after a first down. They get that clock moving very quickly if it stops hardly at all. Okay, so the rule's a little different this year. But that is, if you want to know, I have to admit, sometimes I think that people involved fib. We asked the officials afterwards, hey, did you take a look at this? And we were told, yeah, we took a look at it. We're okay with it. Oh, okay. But what tells me upon further review, pardon the pun, that I think they were fibbing is what you referenced, Mark. Mid-3rd quarter, Georgia catch. All of a sudden, they're going to stop, take 3 minutes to look at this one. Whoa. Really? I'm sorry. That's an admission of guilt to me that you thought upon further review I should have done that at the end of the first half.
Me as well. That was the moment in which I said, oh, boy. They know they messed up, and they're going to make sure they don't do it again, and slowed the game down. It's the Diamond District Bonus Hour, brought to you by Jason and Todd at the Diamond District. Thanks so much for listening. Right here, Miller and Moulton.
Visit Jason and Todd at the Diamond District.
20 years ago, Jason and I had the idea for a jewelry store like no other, with a vast selection of certified diamonds priced 8 to 12% over cost. A team of individuals who are educated, driven, and believe in cultivating relationships.
Today, we have become one of the largest independent jewelry stores in the country. Todd and I love what we do and are in the store nearly every day, along with our GIA gemologists, master jewelers, custom designers, and non-commissioned diamond consultants, all of which we consider family.
As direct diamond importers, we travel the world, forging relationships and sourcing diamonds. What we love most about our business is that we can call Southwest Florida our home.
If selection, value, and comfort are important to you, give the Diamond District an opportunity. You won't find a better diamond buying experience. Todd and I look forward to shaking your hand and welcoming you to our Diamond District family.
At the Diamond District.
The law firm of Michael F. Hornung has successfully represented the citizens of Southwest Florida for over 30 years. As a former prosecutor, the information I know is information you need to know. If you've been arrested for a DUI, a criminal matter, or involved in an auto accident, call the law firm of Michael F. Hornung. I'm a local attorney with local knowledge to assist you through the process. For a free consultation, call 239-437-0095. That's 239-437-0095. Offices in Fort Myers.
Hello, friends and family of Southwest Florida. Are you looking to tap into the electric vehicle market? Well, look no further, because we here at Southwest Florida Golf Carts have just what you need. E-bikes, golf carts, LSVs, scooters, and more. Come down and talk with one of our experienced sales reps, have a soda and a smile, and you could be cruising the streets in your new EV today. Stop by the store or visit our website at flgolfcarts.com and enter for a chance to win $100 off your next purchase by answering John's monthly sports question.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network. Well, Dylan Gabriel's in the portal too. The Oklahoma quarterback.
Oh my God. Why?
$2 million a year would be my guess.
You don't think he's making?
Obviously not. Looking for a raise. Notre Dame must really pay quarterbacks well.
Well, did they get the North Carolina kid or the Wake?
The Duke kid.
The Duke kid. Did
I
they get?
I don't know. The portal literally. Salee just retweeted 24/7 Sports. The portal is officially open. They have here. I'll just show you the graphic. Transfer Palooza.
That's good.
It is ridiculous.
It is ridiculous.
I hate it. Of course, there are certain situations where it's very beneficial and you want to see someone succeed and all that stuff, but it's just like it's free agency.
Empire, I don't know if the game would have been different, to be honest with you, because the Eagles didn't stop them the final three quarters.
That's great. Cummings retweeted Leland, the only baseball history nut. Leland, the only Hall of Famer to argue with the umpire, stop, respect the national anthem, and then get back at it
That's
afterwards.
A great
oh,
video.
That's fantastic.
Or wasn't it? Was it God Bless America?
It was God Bless America. It was God Bless America,
and
but it's just
so good. So funny. Did you hear the story about him, his hotel trick, smoking in the hotel? Someone told a story yesterday. I saw it on Twitter about like how he would, when the Tigers would be on the road, the first thing he would do is go down and tell the front office that someone, or the front desk, he'd be like, hey, I just want you to know someone's been smoking in my room. I don't mind it. I don't need a new room. I just don't want to get charged for it. And then he would smoke in his room. Jimmy smokes. David, are you a Mets fan? What's your baseball?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Mets, Giants, Knicks, Rangers. That's what I grew up rooting for.
Excellent.
My family rooted for Notre Dame. I've always had a soft spot for Rutgers. I'm a proud Jerseyan.
What was the, like, was was your dad or like your family, were they Giants fans? Is that why you picked the Giants? Like, what was the,
didn't spend a lot of time with my father in my life, so I didn't get any of my fandom from my dad. My dad's mom, huge Mets fan because she was a huge Brooklyn Dodgers fan.
Okay.
And then when they left, she waited the 5 years till the Mets came around. I spent a lot of time with my grandparents on both sides because my mom had to work to support us, and my mom worked 3 jobs, quite frankly. So I spent a lot of time with my grandparents, very close with my grandparents.
That's awesome.
And my dad's mom was a New York Mets fan. She had all the yearbooks. I still have them from 62 through when she died. She had the first 23 years of the Mets. She had a yearbook for every year of the Mets.
That is awesome.
And David has them memorized.
It's. I would go over her house and I would read every line. I knew Bud Harrelson was born on D-Day, okay, because of the Mets yearbook.
It's funny you keep your birth. You and I on birthday when I was a broadcast when I did hockey. hometowns and birthdays when I was doing games were big. I mean, when
I
Trent
did
Valley,
Nix.
Grand Rapids skates up I would always
Yeah.
throw that in when
I did. Knicks and Rangers were on my own because they were on TV, and the Nets and Islanders were not, and the Devils weren't around.
Okay.
And I got the Giants from my grandfather, my mom's dad. He lived and died with the Giants, and that was the man in my life. So I'm
Well,
a
that's
Giants.
awesome. Yeah, I was just curious because when you come
Yep.
from a place like Jersey or
Yep.
New York or LA, it's
But there
always
was
interesting to hear how people.
There was nothing more important in my grandparents' household, though, than a Notre Dame game.
Really?
The world stopped when Notre Dame played. Nothing was more important than a Notre Dame game. My grandmother would watch a Notre Dame game with the rosary beads.
Here we go.
Welcome to the bonus hour, brought to you by Jason and Todd at the Diamond District. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
21 minutes past the hour. If you're just joining us, you have a pretty good idea of what we've been talking about today. A little bit of the tip of the hat to the Dolphins, who keep beating the teams that they should beat. And man, are they fun. Don't you want to see the Dolphins go?
Yes.
Yes. Right?
Yes. Absolutely. It's funny you say that. I'm watching the Niners just have their way with the Eagles. And there's part of me that thinks, man, could you give me a Niners Dolphins Super Bowl? Just
and
those coaches and the way that they handle offense, it would be fantastic.
And Dolph fans like, almost 40 years later, let's have the rematch. Absolutely. And okay, the Bucs won, but man, I'll tell you, you take Mike Evans off that team, that is not a good team at all. But we've been talking about Florida State, getting the shaft. And if you go, oh, they didn't get the shaft, really? How many other 13-0 Power 5 conference champions didn't make the playoff?
It's never happened.
I mean, the only other time that's even remotely close, you got to go back to 2004. Remember when it was the BCS and it was only 2, and you had USC, Oklahoma, and 13-0 Auburn. And Auburn, the rankings all year, USC and Oklahoma started the year 1 and 2. Auburn started like 22nd, kept moving up every week, but they were never cracking the top 2 in the computer. It wasn't in the polls and the computer.
Yeah, because the polls were a huge part of the computer,
right?
And they weren't going to move ahead of them.
Right.
Think about that, an SEC team not moving ahead of a Pac-12 team, to tell you how much the landscape of college football has changed.
Totally. Oh, no, please. The SEC was still a regional conference then. No one was pounding the table. Hell, 2 years later, okay, ESPN, Fowler and Herbstreit pounding the table that Florida should not be in the title game against Ohio State. It should be Michigan. And now they're the beloved voices of the SEC. Okay.
Things
knock
change.
yourself out. Yeah, no doubt.
But
no doubt.
I will say, too, as someone who grew up in Big Ten country, when I first moved to the South, I used to have that argument, that Big Ten SEC argument. You watch long enough, David.
Yeah.
Yes. I mean, my opinion changed. It wasn't that, no one said anything to me. It's just after a while, you start watching, you start paying attention to the draft. You start looking at it and going, I'm sorry, this is the better conference.
We haven't talked much about Michigan because they destroyed Iowa and covered, and we thought they would. We'll say Iowa made them look not good. I mean, Iowa can play defense. I mean, they can. And hell, they did that without their best corner. I mean, Iowa's a championship defense. Dreadful offense, but a championship defense. Mark, did we bring this up on Friday, or was this something that I saw after the show? But did you hear about the bar in
the golf simulator place you're talking about? Yeah.
Cedar Rapids, Iowa. Did we talk about this Friday?
We did not.
Because I don't think word had gotten out nationally, but late Friday, the word's out that there's this golf simulator bar in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. And they've got a promotion, free beer till Iowa scores. Now, doesn't start till the game kicks off. It's not like you can drink for the 3 hours leading up to it for free. It starts at kickoff, free beer till Iowa scores. Now, let me ask you, you own it. I'm the general manager running the place. I come up to you and I say, hey, I got an idea for a promotion. Free beer till Iowa scores. Do you think it's amazing? This is awesome. Wow. Now I know why I hired you. Or do you look at me and go,
have you seen them play this year?
do you look at me and go, you willing to put your job on this? So they did it.
Was that there would be a field goal at some point in the game and end this.
Well, and if you're just old enough to remember the 85 Bears who held the Giants and the Rams scoreless heading into the Super Bowl, and the thought was, well, New England's not going to score either. And what happened early in the game? Fumble recovered by New England in field goal territory. New England didn't move the ball but 2 yards. Kicked the field goal. It was 3-0 Patriots in that game. Hence, therefore, so much for the shutout streak. And, if you're the bar owner, you pack the place. I mean, who the hell's going to go to a golf simulator on a Saturday night to watch the Big Ten championship?
Well, put it this way, based on what I was able to read this morning, they only gave away around 300 beers. So it's not like it was that busy to begin with.
Wow. Then obviously nobody would have shown up.
Right.
So,
but I don't think the golf simulator is the hot spot on Saturday night in Cedar Rapids.
No, in fact, you could probably close the door and go home and watch the game at home if you own and run the place. Like, who the heck's going to come here to watch it? But yeah, free beer until Iowa scores. Now, that begs the question, are you allowed to drink for the next 9 months for free?
I do, by the way. I know most of you don't care about bowl matchups, but I give the bowl committee at least an ounce of credit for having Iowa play Tennessee in a bowl game. One of the fastest paced offenses in the country against the Iowa defense. That's good job.
So there you go. There was that little intrigue in and around that game. Would Iowa score? And if so, it affects the drinking at this establishment in Cedar Rapids. But our poll question, so who should have made the playoff, Florida State or Alabama? And by a 2-1 vote, so far it's Florida State. I'm a little surprised. Have to admit.
I am too, just because of the number of Gator fans that have either via the Twitch chat room or the text line at 21,000 have expressed their joy today. And Gator fan for the first time in my life that I can recall in my adult life, because I root for a team that's bad and has been traditionally average at best, a couple of nice little runs. And I took joy in the misery of the good team in my state. I know where you're at today, Gator. I do. Aim higher. But for today, you're taking misery in both Florida State and Georgia being kept out of the playoff.
Would have been an amazing 16 playoff, right? The 5 conference champions in Georgia. I mean, would have been interesting how they seeded them. I mean, 1 and 2 gets the byes, going by the way they laid it out. So Texas would have hosted Georgia, and well, actually they wouldn't host. If they went to the 6, they'd keep the bowl. So it would have been Texas, Georgia, Alabama, Florida State. Then the winners play Michigan and Washington.
But the 12-teamer would have been interesting because Florida State would have gotten Liberty.
Yeah. And they would have won. And for those that go, are you sure? Well, Liberty played the easiest schedule in the country. No, the easiest. Like 133 out of 133. Easiest schedule in the country.
They would have changed this around. I can guarantee you they would have changed this around because Penn State ended up 10, Ole Miss ended up 11. I'll bet anything with anybody if this were next year, Ole Miss would have been 10 and Penn State would have been 11 simply because they wouldn't have wanted rematches.
Right, because Ohio State was 7, and so they'd play Penn State. They'd rather them play Ole Miss. Right. By the way, the Ohio State quarterback has entered the transfer portal.
So is the Oklahoma quarterback.
I'm just curious, does he enter the transfer portal this time next year if they're the 7 seed and they're hosting a playoff game? Does he get a head start on his next place, or is he like, well, I'll play in the playoff, but then I'm out of here?
See, isn't it nice that these are the conversations we'll be having at this time next year? It won't be who got screwed
well,
out of a 14 playoff.
It'll be a different kind of who got screwed, though.
Right, but it'll be less outrage in general.
Yeah. Well, you would like to think it's never going to be this much outrage. I guess, though, there will then be the arguing over who should have hosted. Like, Florida State being 5. Some people would have said, well, they should have got a first-round bye. They should have been 4. They shouldn't be playing the first week. That's what we'll be arguing about. Miller and Moulton. Good, bad, and ugly. What's on tap today was the day when. It's all next.
Visit Jason and Todd at the Diamond District.
When choosing something of high value and personal significance, such as a diamond, you want to shop with the best. And the mall is not the place to be. Here are my friends, Jason and Todd with the Diamond District.
Take a stroll in the mall, pop into a few joy stores, and you'll soon discover you're in the wrong place. Rings begin to look all alike. You're not finding GIA certified diamonds. You quickly realize you know more than a salesperson helping you, and all the same financing gets pushed on you.
Visit Jason and me, and you'll find America's top bridal designers dealing exclusively with the Diamond District. You'll find the largest selection of GIA certified diamonds, all priced 8 to 10% over cost. You'll find educated sales consultants who have many years' experience and are not paid commissions.
And you'll find Todd and me in the store nearly every day, wanting to shake your hand and welcome you to our Diamond District family.
Visit Jason and Todd at the Diamond District.
The law firm of Michael F. Hornung specializes in criminal defense, DUI, personal injury, nursing home claims, and auto accidents. I'm a former prosecutor with over 34 years of experience. The information I know is information you need to know. If you've been arrested for a DUI, time is of the essence to maintain your driving privileges. Call the law firm of Michael F. Hornung for a free consultation. At the law firm of Michael F. Hornung, we are committed to excellence in your representation. Being a local attorney with local knowledge is clutch to the success of your case. For over 30 years, we have successfully represented the citizens of Southwest Florida. For a free consultation, call 239-437-0095. That's 239-437-0095. Our offices are conveniently located in Fort Myers. Visit online at mfh-law.com.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
This is just the third school coming up for Dylan Gabriel. He turns 23 later this month. But, UCF, Oklahoma, and now wherever. Hey, he'll always be remembered fondly in Oklahoma for the win against Texas and the game-winning touchdown. So Ohio State and Oklahoma's quarterbacks are already in the transfer portal.
Where's Matt Rule when you need him? God, I want one of them to go to Nebraska.
Yeah, no kidding.
Wouldn't that be funny?
So does Nebraska.
Yeah, I know. You know how good of a show this was today, David? I didn't even think about the good, bad, and ugly until you said it, and I went to commercial. I better find some of these stories. Usually I have those things done by 6:30.
It is ironic this year of all years, the SEC didn't have enough bowl-eligible teams to take up all their spots. I mean, think about all the teams that didn't get to 6. South Carolina, Vandy, and Florida, and I think Arkansas and Mississippi State, right? And there's 5 SEC schools right there who didn't.
Yeah.
Thanks, Brett. We agree. That was a pretty good guest list. No, that's as good as we can do.
Let's go.
That's pretty good. I mean,
David's at home on a Monday,
oh my God.
despite not having his glasses.
Yeah, I saw that one. Whatever. I got him.
Bud Elliott sent out a pretty funny tweet that I saw. It was like, it was sarcastic. It was a 12-team bracket, and Florida State wasn't in it. And he was like, this is what my 12-team playoff would look like this year. What about you guys? And all the replies, people didn't get it. They were all like, this must have been a scheduled tweet. Why do you have all this? These are all out of order. And I'm like, guys, the point is he left Florida State out. It's a joke. It's hilarious.
Yeah. You want to talk about a sport you can't joke in.
Right.
I give Bud credit for making his living doing college football and still trying to be humorous while doing it.
Yeah.
You want to talk about fan bases who have the worst sense of humor in the world? Let's talk college football.
Yeah. Everyone's like, yeah. Yeah, and then he goes, those of you who got this really seem to enjoy the commentary on how the committee just does whatever the hell it wants. Disappointed in y'all who think I would have Tennessee 7th, no FSU, Oregon 4th, Tulane in, etc. I saw, he was very clearly joking, but the amount of people that didn't get it.
I'm glad he also left Oregon out, because then the joke is obvious. Tennessee at 8 and 4 or 7. I mean, come on.
Yeah, and he had Georgia at 1 still. I mean, it's clearly a joke, but people don't want to. People hate fun.
I'm
going to have to bring that up to him when he's on this week.
Hey, Bud, welcome back. Anything to talk about this week?
Okay, here we go.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network.
22 minutes till the top of the hour, 16 until we are done. The first Monday of December edition of Miller and Moulton. Thanks so much for being with us. If you're just joining us, you may need to go to floridasportsnetwork.com shortly after the show and download large portions of this show, even by Miller and Moulton standards. When we don't think very highly of Miller and Moulton, pretty darn good show today. Gary Danielson in our first hour. Jeff Cameron, who covers Florida State and is the voice of Tallahassee sports in our 7 o'clock hour. Chris Landry, probably the most passionate he's ever been talking football and being brutally honest, whether you want to hear it or not, about what went down. And then JP Shadrick an hour ago. He's doing Jags radio network stuff today, and the Jags hosted Monday Night Football for the first time in 12 years. And we got his thoughts on the playoff, and he thought Florida State got screwed. And he's an Alabama alum. So that's how polarizing this issue is. Mark, before you get to the good, bad, and ugly, what's on top, today was the day when, if I could just have a moment. We criticize ourselves about a lot of things, including how bad we are with poll questions, right?
Yes,
I mean,
100%. We have strengths, we have weaknesses. We've pointed out our weaknesses many a time on this show.
Right. The Dan Patrick Show is usually great with poll questions. A friend of mine during the Diamond District bonus hour, switches over to listen to the beginning of the Dan Patrick Show.
What the hell?
Especially today, because he wanted to hear their take on, what went down.
Some friend.
Two things. First off, and that's like 6 people that have a mic on that show. Apparently all but one of them thought Florida State should be left out. So that's number one. Number two, their poll question. Okay, who should be more upset today, Florida State or Georgia? Mark, if I submitted that as a possible poll question today, would you have ever gone with that poll question?
No. In fact, my son is a diehard dog. His mom went to school at the University of Georgia. Their whole family are Georgia fans, huge. As he and I were texting during the game, and the game ended, I said, well, it was a hell of a run. And he's like, yep, it was. He never thought for the minute they lost.
Right.
He's like, well, we're out.
Yeah.
That was our playoff game.
Yeah. So this whole, Georgia thing, I find hysterical.
Fascinating.
So I wanted to point that out. I have no idea the results of their poll question. They're early into their show, but the results of our poll question, okay, who would you have voted for, Bama or Florida State? By a nearly 2-1 margin, you guys have said Florida State, which we find interesting.
But there are very few people in the national media that are campaigning still thinking they got it wrong. Tim Brando thinks they got it wrong. Danny Cannell thinks they got it wrong. There aren't very many.
Right. By the way, I did find it funny, the ESPN selection show panel. So if you count Herb Street, who was on location, you had 3 SEC guys and 2 Buckeyes. Because Reese is from Alabama. They put Greg McElroy on the show. A national championship quarterback. Where, Mark?
That'd be Alabama, David.
Of all the guys you could have called in for that one, did you have to go Greg McElroy? And then, they had Booger was angry. Booger thought it should have been Florida State.
Right.
He did. He thought it should have been Florida State. He was angry. Everybody else, Joey Galloway was like, it's obvious. It's Alabama. You go 4 best teams. You got to be kidding me. I mean, he was indignant about it before the vote was revealed. So just the makeup of the show was interesting in and of itself.
It's time for someone to take back this segment, if for no other reason than to stop David from talking about Meghan and Harry. Here's Mark Miller with Today Was the Day When.
Today in 1619, 38 colonists from Berkeley Parish disembark in Virginia and give thanks. It is considered to be the first Thanksgiving in the Americas. James Monroe was elected to become our 5th president today in 1816. I just point this out because he defeated Rufus King. Could you imagine if we look back in history and we had a president named Rufus?
That'd be spectacular. I had a dog named Rufus. Love to name my dog after our president.
First Grey Cup was today in 1909.
Who?
The University of Toronto Blues beat the Toronto Parkdale Canoe Club 26-6. The Blues were undefeated.
Oh, how the hell could you not beat a canoe club?
Also today in 1909, big day north of the border. The first Grey Cup, and J. Ambrose O'Brien and Jack Laviolette create the Club de Hockey Canadien, known today as the Montreal Canadiens.
Oh, les habitants!
The first pro football playoff game was today in 1920. Buffalo beat Canton 7-3. And in 1921, the American Professional Football Association Championship, the Chicago Staleys beat Buffalo 10-7.
Man, Buffalo was a player back in the 20s.
Today in 1954 in Miami, David, you could have it your way. The first Burger King opened in the U.S. today in Miami, Florida in 1954.
I never would have guessed Miami.
Today in 56 at Sun Studios, an impromptu recording session takes place with Elvis, Carl Perkins, Jerry Lee Lewis, and Johnny Cash, called the $1 Million Quartet. And in 1980, 2 months after the death of John Bonham, Zeppelin announced that they will disband. 1982, Herschel wins the Heisman. And in 1986, Orlando ties the NBA record for fewest points since the inception of the 24-second shot clock, losing to Cleveland 84-57.
Damn. Even Iowa football is looking at that going, come on, guys.
Red Wing great Alex Delvecchio is 92 years old today.
Is he really?
Yeah. TV game show host Wink Martindale's 89.
And still dyeing his hair.
And it looks perfect.
Yes.
Jeff Bridges is 74. Rick Middleton is 70. This one's for you, David. Bernard King, 67.
Oh, can I just have a moment, ladies and gentlemen? All right. Do you have the other birthday, though?
Oh, I've got more. Lee Smith is 66. Marissa Tomei is 59.
Oh, now I need another moment. Okay, but listen, folks, this is how good Bernard King was. In 1984, he was hotter than Marissa Tomei, okay? Think about that.
Jay-Z is 54. Tyra Banks is 50. And lineman Joe Thomas is 39 years old today. What did I miss, David?
Well, first off, Lee Smith. Has Lee gotten back to the dugout yet from the mound? Has any grown man ever walked slower than Lee Smith? I mean, when they made a call to the bullpen, you could play 4 minutes worth of breaks if it was to Lee Smith. Well, it's just a couple of things. First off, in 97, today was the day the NBA suspended Sprewell.
Right.
Attacking PJ. We had it on Friday. I think Friday was the day he attacked him.
Correct. Took him a few days to suspend him for a year.
And 14 years ago today, they convicted Amanda Knox of murder in Italy. Thankfully, they overturned it. And that's all I got.
You've heard folks elsewhere mock Florida is gonna Florida. Well, Mark Miller sees it differently. He calls it the good, the bad, and the ugly. What you got, Mark?
Give it up for the Tampa Bay Times. I did not know how I have missed that they have been doing this for 7 years prior, and this is their 8th annual Tampa Bay Times airing of the grievances. Readers are asked to send their grievances for Festivus to the Tampa Bay Times, and they will print the funniest grievances in their annual airing of the grievances issue. Good for them. Could almost get me to buy a newspaper. We go to Ohio for the bad, where 2 trucks collided in Lake County. It covered the road in chocolate and caramel. One of the trucks spilled its loads of chocolate and caramel candy onto the roadway, prompting officials to direct traffic off of the highway. Hate to see sweets wasted like that. And for the ugly, we go back to Florida, in Miramar, Florida, where a woman was arrested after she robbed a Publix by threatening to blow it up. She handed a note to the employee demanding cash or she would blow up the supermarket. She fled the scene. The employee was able to get the tag of the getaway vehicle, passed it on to police, where they were able to locate the car and conduct a traffic stop, taking Rebecca Rodriguez into custody. David, there are a lot of things that piss me off at a Publix. And I'm sure she was in a tenant under line and somebody had 14, 15 items and it just caused her to go over the edge. But I think she went a little too far.
I would agree with that. All right. Although if I was a lawyer, I would represent her for free.
That is the good, the bad, and the ugly on today, December the 4th, 2023.
Come on, guys. It's the NBA in-season tournament tonight, the quarterfinals. Winners go to Vegas. Boston's at Indiana. And New Orleans is at Sacramento. It's a 7:30, 10 o'clock TNT doubleheader.
Did you catch that? I don't know if you caught that when you were making the proclamation there. Trent just busted right over top of you. There's some pretty good games.
Oh, just
shut up.
Almighty. Unbelievable.
Give it a chance.
We have. It's been going on for 2 weeks. We don't know who's playing, when, where, until we see the funky courts. The Lightning are hosting Dallas. You know, these guys played in the finals against one another a few years ago. Otherwise, a little this, a little that in the NHL. 6 games, but Tampa Bay's hosting Dallas. So college hoops tonight. Monday's usually a big night, but once again, Big Ten Network, Iowa, Purdue.
A pretty good game for the Big Ten Network here on December 4th.
Friday night, Northwestern upset Purdue again, second year in a row.
Vegas knew something we didn't, David, because remember, we were thinking, how is Purdue only a 4.5-point favorite?
Well, but also we were like, man, this is early for some conference games, isn't it?
Well, kind of. They do the soft launch where they'll do a couple of them, and then they go back to non-conference, and then after the calendar years when they really let it rip.
December 1st and 4th for Purdue. You're already playing conference games. That seems early to me. They were the number one team in the country. They're not going to be when they play Iowa tonight. And then there's Monday Night Football. Jacksonville, first time in 12 years. 12 years tomorrow. They hosted Phillip Rivers and the San Diego Chargers. So on nearly the 12-year anniversary, Jacksonville on Monday Night Football, they're hosting Jake Browning and the 10-point underdog Cincinnati Bengals. Over-under is what, like 39.5, something like that? So what are we talking here? We're talking basically 24-14, add a point, something like that. I don't know. When you say it like that, I don't know if the Bengals can stay within 10.
Lee Sterling was 3-1 this week on the show, had his game of the week right. He did, for the record, pick Cincinnati on the points.
Correct.
On Friday on the show.
Now, here's the big question, though. We forced him to pick on Friday. The line was like 8.5 then.
Right.
Are we going to give Lee the 1.5?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. See, we're nice guys. He's had a good run here the last couple of 2-3 weeks. We'll bring Lee on right before the Bowls in nearly 2 weeks. So there you go. For those that have said, well, of course, 2 out of every 3 people say Florida State got screwed. You guys are a Florida-based show. Do you know how many Gators and Canes fans are listening to this show?
And how many texts I've taken today from Gators fans who are just so happy that Georgia and Florida State both got left out of the playoff?
I know. They actually think this 5-7 season was successful. So, yeah, Miller and Moulton are a little surprised. I mean, the SEC champion, Gary Danielson and others have been saying for a while, are we really going to leave the SEC champion out of the playoff? That seems kind of absurd. And at face value, it does. And that's why I think both of us, Mark, thought that more people would be voting, no, Alabama, they won the SEC. Got to have the SEC champion. But so far, 2 out of every 3 of you think Florida State should have been in. That's who Miller and Moulton would have voted for.
We do get Alabama against Michigan in a college football semifinal, by the way.
Roll Tide.
The
Yeah.
consolation prize for us, the fan, is that we get one hell of a football game.
You think this is the most hateable college football playoff game we've ever had in terms of the matchups?
Please, no.
Everyone in the country hates at least one of these teams.
No. You'd be surprised. We've talked about this, Mark. What does SEC fan do come bowl season?
SEC.
It's a strange phenomenon. They'd light you on fire during the week and then bet on you and root for you in the bowls.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again.
Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here.
Ma'am, if